These are always awkward starting off, aren't they? Welcome to the podcast. This is a podcast that we have been trying to do. When was the first time we thought to do this? We had the idea of it all the way back as early as our Iron Maiden podcast. We said we need to do Avenged next or something.
That was the earliest.
Essentially, this is our podcast talking about a band that we both have listened to for a great many years, over 10 years, respectively. Jesus Christ, actually. Well, we'll get into a bit of that whenever we can during the podcast, but we're going to be delving into the Avenged back catalogue and discography and discussing every song they've released and the lineup changes and the history that we have with the band. Not personal history, but you know what I mean. And go through everything in there. We'll touch briefly on NFTs, maybe. Who knows? We'll see if we have time. But for the most part, it's about the band's music, career, and development over the years. What does Avenged mean to you, Kate? No, we're not going to start all that cringy. But brief starting thoughts on the band. What are your thoughts and feelings on them and everything? Of the who's your favourite member, favourite album, all that shit. Well, I suppose how did we get into them is a nice place to start, right?
I mean, that is a complicated story and
we'll simplify it then. Video game soundtracks is the way that we both respectively got into them. We kind of started at different points. I started with COD Zombies, you started with Need for Speed, and we both kind of collided. I wasn't consciously aware of the band, you found them first. I was hearing individual songs from COD by this band Avenged, and you were like, wait, hold on. This is the same band I'm listening to. Here's a few more songs, and then we kind of it went from there. Rest is history.
Yeah, exactly.
But shall we just go in order of their career, and then as we reach the songs that
the milestones.
We'll reach the milestones as we get to them. But yeah, so Avenged in 1999. That's the year. The band formed technically in California, Long Beach, California, in that sort of area, with the members Matt Sanders, actually, soon to be Matt Shadows. Matt Went, who went pretty quickly from this lineup after a few years. The joke had to be made, I'm sorry. Zachary Baker, and later the Rev. This was the first lineup of Avenged, where they made their first demo, which was their self-titled demo. We'll put the photos of each album somewhere on screen. Over Kate's face. No. And they did their self-titled demo in 2000, and after that, the Rev joined. God bless the Rev. A lot of stories about him. What just a legend. What a musical legend.
Well, speaking of the Rev first, even before this, I think you found it as well. A video of him as a kid doing a drum.
It was like a school recital, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He did like a full-on drum solo. How old was he? Like 12, 13?
Something like that. He's
a madman.
Got into drums recently. At that point, he was very new to it. I think he knew about his heart condition around then, and then he went, "Oh,
who cares? I want to be a rock star." He was inspired by drummers like Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater, Brooks Wackerman from Bad Religion.
More on him later.
More on both of them. More on both of them later. Remember?
Oh yes.
Yeah. A few others. I think overall the band kind of originally took inspiration from. These bands will come up later in terms of inspiration for albums, but like Pink Floyd, NoFX, Guns N' Roses, a bit of Metallica, a lot of Pantera, a bit of Iron Maiden, the usual gist of, what usual favourites of metal bands is. But essentially, they got together and, like I say, they made almost a hardcore demo, which was the self-titled, Avenged demo, where the songs they had were Lips of Deceit, We Come Out at Night, Forgotten Faces, Thick and Thin, and Art of Subconscious Illusion. All songs that would release on their first album. They released that demo, the Rev joined. I thought it might have been during the demo that the Rev joined, I'm not sure, but it was very early on. But what I remember in interviews was it was very, very difficult for Matt Sanders essentially begged the Rev at his feet, please join Avenged, we need you. And as it sounds like originally the Rev only joined the band to help his childhood friends. He didn't actually give a fuck about doing this hardcore band. He was like, oh, screw it, fine. If I must. And it's really, really cute to think that he just did it as a favour for a few friends. It just shows what sort of a guy he was, and how close they all were as friends, right? It's really sweet.
He just wanted to hit stuff with sticks.
He did, yeah.
And his mate just went, please, okay.
I think what I love most about all of the members is they were all close friends growing up. You know, I just really enjoy that they get on outside of the band, because you often hear a lot of times bands falling out behind the scenes for this reason or that reason, and that's going to happen with Avenged too. But it's not
with the core members.
No, and it's not even like that. It's more they're best friends bickering over shit. They are best friends. You know what I mean? That's what I like about it. They released the Warmness on the Soul demo like half a year later, with mostly new songs: Tend the Rapture, Darkness Surrounding, Warmness on the Soul, its song itself. And We Come Out at Night makes its second appearance in the discography. I think We Come Out at Night is one of only 2 or 3 Avenged songs that actually has been mixed 3 times.
Huh.
I think. The only other one I can think of is Almost Easy. I think that's the only other one.
Afterlife has had a few, but
I don't think it's 3. I think it's just 2. I mean, most of the songs on Diamonds in the Rough have been mixed twice, haven't they? Most of.
Right.
But anyway, that doesn't matter. But yeah, so they released that Warmness on the Soul EP, and some of the songs on there, they sound different to how they are on the album itself. We noticed this when we heard the CD. I think the biggest change is I prefer the Darkness Surrounding on the EP rather than the full-length Seventh Trumpet album. But who cares? Same song in concept. But it's they're getting off the ground. They're releasing demos, EPs all over the place, and then we get to the full-length album where they put all of their material into a body of work, which is Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, which we've got up here. Let's just get this out of the way. I like all of Avenged albums, but this one is probably my least favourite of their catalogue. It's quite juvenile. It's almost like a hardcore punk record with metal elements mixed in. It feels more in the hardcore punk scene, especially since they were on Warped Tour at the time. They started out doing that sort of stuff, which is more in the sort of punk scene, isn't it, more than metal?
Right, okay.
So it's just kind of interesting that Avenged is kind of, because essentially they didn't invent metalcore, but they definitely did do so much for that subgenre in boosting its popularity.
Yeah, the influence.
Because I think Killswitch was first, and I think they were actually inspired by Killswitch when they went to making their second album, believe it or not, because Killswitch were among the first metalcore, and they were like, oh, we want to do more of that, and so Waking the Fallen comes in, but we're getting ahead of ourselves here. But what are your thoughts on Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, I guess?
When I look at it, when I look at the album art, when I see what songs playing, the first thing I see in the art is okay, it's this album. It isn't one of my favourites as well. Yeah,
I do enjoy it. I mean, I used to not like it, but all of the songs on there have grown on me massively.
That's the thing. I think in my case, there's lots of pre-thought about it. Seeing the art alone, it makes me go, oh, okay, it's pretty art, but it's this album.
Yeah, but it's good album art.
Yeah, then I go, it's good. It's amazing album art. I love the purples.
Yeah.
But if I go through different songs, I go, oh, I love that song. I love that song. I do love To End the Rapture and Turn the Other Way. I do love when there's 2 songs and they just blend. Yeah. Or an intro then blend.
Yeah, no, I mean, End the Rapture is a really good opening interlude. I think for me it was the same as well. I mean, it's still my least favorite Avenged because they would age like fine wine as a band. So obviously you kind of as a band want your first album to be your worst because you just want to improve every time. So I'm kind of glad that their first one is...
Can't set the bar too high and be a one-hit wonder.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of bands are known to do that, and I'm glad Avenged isn't that. But there are songs on here I do really enjoy. Streets is one that I really... And also, Streets was the first song written for this album, and it wasn't written for Avenged. It was written for Matt's punk band, Successful Failure, in high school. Which is why Streets sounds so different than the rest of the songs on Seventh Trumpet. There's loads more clean vocals, it's way faster, the tempo is way more energetic, and there's not really... They didn't play to a click track. I forgot to mention this. When bands record music, they play to a click track to stay in rhythm with each other.
Oh, they click.
They did not play to a click track in any of these songs. None of them. And when they went to get signed to I don't know who, but when they did the second album, the manager they were trying to finagle a deal with basically said, yeah, you guys don't play to a click track. And they go, what's a click track? And then they go, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, it's really messy, he goes, when he's like, when he's looking at this album. And it's just fun to think that there's good songs in here, but they aren't made in a traditional songwriting way. They did it their own way. And to jump on from that, the Rev did the entire album drum takes in the first attempt, which is just a fun thing to note that, you know, the Rev basically just wanted to go for it.
Just wanted to hit stuff.
He did. But yeah, I think Shattered by Broken Dreams is an amazing outro song. It is the first attempt of like an epic closer of an album, and they do better in future albums, but it's a great first attempt. Epic of Time Wasted is it's not my favourite. Breaking Their Hold is a bit forgettable, but Warmness on the Soul is a great ballad. Lips of Deceit has an amazing opening riff. I love Art of Subconscious Illusion. I love where that song takes me. And then Darkness Surrounding has grown on me, and Turn the Other Way is decent. So overall, there was some good stuff on there that I find myself coming back to, which shows that the album has staying power. It's a far cry from what they would become, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's decent. It's decent. It's like, so, what sort of rating would you give it? I don't know. Or what would you rank it? I don't know. What are your final thoughts, I guess?
I would put it as... a 5 or 6, because it's that thing of the album again. Some of these songs I can't even remember the names of. I sing them now. It's like, oh really?
Yeah. Oh, that's on there. Yeah.
It's like, that exists.
Yeah.
Forgotten Faces is the funniest one, because that's the one I keep getting the most. It's like,
And some of the song titles are a bit ironic, like Epic of Time Wasted. It's like, funny. Anyway, but yeah.
But it's like, when I look at individual songs, again, I do love Lips of Deceit. No.
Yeah, Lips of Deceit is brilliant. Yeah.
To End of Rapture, that goes into Turn the Other.
Yeah, it is really good. It's decent. There's some good stuff on there, but
Warmness of the Heart is
Warmness on the Soul is so beautiful. Yeah, it really is. It's so good. But they would get better. And I think that's all we have to say on their first album, because, like I say, it's both of our least favourite. There are some hipsters in the Avenged community that say that they were all 20,000 of them were part of the 50 people that saw them in their tent in Warped Tour and bought the Seventh Trumpet record, and will say that Seventh Trumpet is their best album. And they're they like to be hipsters and be contrarians.
I didn't just look at the stats from the first album to this one,
and it goes from, well, before we get there though, there was a side project done by our boy the Rev. Avenged have kind of basically taken this album under their wing at this point. It's essentially like an EP that almost all of Avenged helped out with. Even though that's not really true, it's a side project of the Rev, so who fucking cares? We're going to talk about it. Pinkly Smooth is a side project band that the Rev was doing, inspired by Mr. Bungle. I think that's the main influence, but there was other stuff in there like Infectious Grooves, stuff like that. And and it was him and his one of their other school friends, Brian. Fuck, I've forgotten his last name. Sin, Sinister Gates. They would work on Pinkly Smooth with a few other people. I don't know the other people off by heart, by name, but this album is a lot of fun. It's very, very different. It's like funky, groovy, jazzy metal. It's really strange. It reminds me a lot of Mr. Bungle's first album, and that might be why I really, really dig it. But Unfortunate Snort, what a funny title for an album. But Pinkly Smooth I enjoy it. I think it's good. I
only hear it when I'm with you.
Yeah?
And I tend to be quite drunk listening to it. So I'm like, it does not help my mental state. I'm like, what the
fuck is happening? But
I think one time I was like, super drunk on your floor in Wales.
No, that wasn't for that. That was the other thing. We'll talk about that in a bit. But that is a great story.
I remember multiple occasions that happening now. Whoops.
But yeah, I love Pinkly Smooth. I think the album is great. I wish it did go on, but if it did, then we wouldn't get Avenged in the same existence that we do. But Necromance Theatre is it kind of reminds me of what A Little Piece of Heaven would become in a lot of ways. I really like McFly. I mean, on the surface they all feel like the same sort of song, but when you actually listen to them, they really do go weird psychedelic places, and I just really enjoy it. Like, and also some of the song titles are just hilarious, like Pixel and Nasal, Body of Death of the Man with the Body of Death. Like, I don't know. Nosferatu does a hefty dance.
Were they testing the word limit for?
Maybe they were for track listing. Yeah, maybe they were. But I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun. It's tongue in cheek. They were having a good time making this album. It feels like, so good on them. And I think it's a good body of work, and it's a shame how underrated it is. But we'll get back to what I said about Necromance Theatre, because we'll get to the song A Little Piece of Heaven eventually, and how similar that feels to how Pinkley Smooth would have probably turned into. But anyway, good stuff. I love Unfortunate Snort. You don't really listen to it very often, do you, though? So I suppose there's not much you can mention on it. But I think it's actually excellent. Personally, I think it's great, but we'll move on. So now we move on to Waking the Fallen. Now, this is important in the history of Avenged because the Rev brought in Sinister Gates to help with lead guitar work. Because Zaki, he wasn't cutting it. He kind of ran out of all the juicy riffs that he wanted to write in Seventh Trumpet. Which, kudos to him, because there are some great riffs in that album. But I think Sin came in and was like, hey Zach, I'll help you out with this, come on. And it shows, because Waking the Fallen comes through, and it is a glow up and a half between the first and second album.
Yeah. Are we separating the expanded ones, or shall I mention it now?
We can touch upon the additions, the expanded one, when we get to its 10-year anniversary, but we can talk about it here if you want. It's up to you.
Oh, yeah. We ain't got much to say on it as much.
Well, I suppose the first thing to say is it was kind of almost your first Avenged record. Your first full one. Yeah. You obviously heard songs before it, but...
Yes, so...
There's a lot of nostalgia on here for you.
Yes. So for Christmas, after I started listening to Avenged Sevenfold and was okay show, I was like, I listen to metal. And my parents looked at the first album that came out. It also gave us a timestamp of when we started listening to metal. And they went, oh, here's the latest album. And they went, it's like... And I looked at it, because I saw the album art before, I was like, this has been out for 10 years now.
No, it's not. It came out last week or whatever, because it's the 10-year anniversary of it, is the resurrected version of Waking the Fallen. But first of all, like, Waking the Fallen is just like, for me, it's like nostalgia. I stick this album on, and it just takes me back to 2013 when we would spam most of their catalogue, you know? Because it was like 2012, 2013 when we were like sending each other Avenged songs like Unholy Confessions, Beast in the Harlot, Eternal Rest was another one, Chapter 4. There was a lot from Waking the Fallen, but there was also I think we were listening to Nightmare at that time. We probably discovered Nightmare by that point, because Nightmare was 2010 and this was 2012, 2013. Just as Hail to the King was coming out. So that was in that same year that came out.
Yeah, because it was stuff from Hail to the King. We started swapping.
Yeah.
So it was around.
So like, This Means War, Heretic. But around that era, I stick this album on and I hear songs like Second Heartbeat, Desecrate for Reverence. I'm just like, oh, it takes me back. It takes me all the way back to when we were first listening to this stuff. But what an amazing album.
Yeah. Second Heartbeat lives up to its name.
It is just one of the fastest songs they've done.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger doing a paper round, I remember.
And you were late for school. Was this the story you're on about? Or no?
No, I was late to school half the time. But it was more, the one on the hill of school. I remember multiple times I'd walk up that hill, and always on Second Heartbeat, I would speed up. Because it's like,
It's a mental thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, I forgot about I Won't See You Tonight. I love part 1. I Won't See You Tonight part 1 is bloody gorgeous. I absolutely love that song.
I love them both.
I love both parts too, but I think part 1 is the GOAT. I think it's so gorgeous. I think it's a shame that it's not just one big song, like, put together. It's a shame that it's split in half, because it's fine. You can still hear it in order when you listen to the album, but I
wonder if they...
Interesting that they had to cut it in half.
Yeah, I wonder if they had to be like, for their label, make 12 songs.
Maybe. There might have been a quota. They were like, let's split the longest song in half, and that might have been what actually happened. I don't know for sure, but it could have been. Might have just cracked that.
Yeah. But what I think is a really good combo. So if we go back up a bit.
I know what you're going to say because you pointed this out to me, and this gave a certain song a new lease of life in my head. I know what one you mean. It's these two, isn't it? It's
Desperate for Reverence and Eternal Rest.
Yeah.
How Desperate ends and then goes straight into Eternal.
Mm-hmm.
I just love, like...
It fits so well. It really made me enjoy Eternal Rest a lot more. On its own... I enjoy it on its own a lot more now, but for a while I was like, so about it. But there's an amazing sort of like tension release in the song where he goes, eternal rest in time. I'm just like, it really hits hard, you know.
See, I love that riff, like,
yeah.
I know I'm getting it wrong. It sounds. I think I'm doing someone else's riff, but
oh no, that's Desecrate for Reverence. That riff. Is it not?
It's the second one.
Oh, it is. It's Eternal Rest. Yeah, but yeah, I think they fit really well because they do have similar tempos. That they're just similar in tone as well, and like you say, like it ends with "and you're dead to me," and then it goes straight into Eternal Rest afterwards.
Yeah,
I think it fits really, really well as like a 2-part song there. But
yeah,
they both work on their own. I've warmed to both of them.
I warmed very quickly to most of these songs.
Yeah, they are great, aren't they?
As when I heard the album, because I was listening to other songs like Nightmare and stuff.
Yeah.
And Hail to the King. So of course I was used to that sound. And wasn't much into the screamo.
Yeah. Screamo, yeah. That's a forbidden word in the metal world, but yeah.
Bite me. So I went to put this in front of my whole family. It's like Christmas. I got 2 young brothers who are about 5 or so. And the first thing they hear is, yes! Fuck! I was like, what? This ain't Avenged Sevenfold. I was baffled.
It was,
and that was like Unholy Confessions.
Yeah. One of the most poppy songs on here of all of them. It's an album.
Poppy?
One most sugary, most hooky. Like, you know, the guitar riffs are way more catchy than the other heavier stuff on here. But there's so much different stuff on here. Like, I Won't See You Tonight Part 1 is a nice somber moment that speeds up to being into Part 2. Clairvoyant Disease is one of the best Avenged Sevenfold songs for me. I absolutely love that one. Enough said about Unholy Confessions. Yeah, I know you love Chapter 4. It's pretty good, isn't it? Reminiscence is great, actually. That's unsung hero of this album. The only one I don't really like is the closer. It's not dreadful, but I think it kind of trails off after the 5-minute mark. It just kind of whimpers. It kind of ends with a whimper. But before that, it's pretty decent.
Doesn't it slowly just get messy?
It just gets the drumming, the guitar work. It just feels like screw it. Our arms are getting tired. Let's just wrap this one up. It just feels like they kind of just gave up at the end of the song. But it's fine up until then. It's a decent song up until that point. But
I think it was the first time we've had to do multiple takes.
Yeah, the rep is like, no, I wanted to do it in one again. But he has a little tantrum as well. But yeah, no, I think it's an excellent album. Obviously, it skyrocketed their mainstream popularity. Unholy Confessions destroyed the world, and everyone knew this band. But after that song, but Chapter 4 was a big one too. I forget where from, but it did get a bit of exposure as well. I think it had a feature in a video game soundtrack, maybe.
I don't know that one. Sorry,
I forget what it was, but yeah, I think it was in a Need for Speed game, but I think it was a different one, maybe. I might be wrong though, but I don't know. But who knows? But yeah, it's obviously a hallmark metalcore album. Like when people say what the best metalcore albums are, they say all sorts, but this is always in the conversation. People always bring up Waking the Fallen as being one of the biggest of that movement, and for good reason. I think it's great. I think Seventh Trumpet was closer to the hardcore end of the metalcore spectrum, and this was closer to the metal side of the metalcore spectrum, and it felt melodic, but it felt heavy, fast, and aggressive, and it was good pissed off angry teenager music. And with us being pissed off angry teens, this was perfect music for us.
I'm still pissed off and angry, but I'm not a teen.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, overall, I think it's a fucking fabulous album. It's great. Would you say this is your favourite? I know it's in your top 3. There's no way it's not in your top 3 at least.
Yeah,
it has to be up
it's in
there.
top 3.
Yeah, I don't. It probably was your favourite for a while. You think?
I think it was because it was one of the first albums I did listen fully because I actually had a physical.
In
copy.
general, was this one of the first albums you ever sat through the whole way through? Do you think? Because I know there was like Fear of the Dark was one of the first for you.
A lot of the CDs. It was a lot of the music I had was the CDs. It was like I'd have a lot of CDs. Most people do.
Yeah.
Well, modern people aren't anymore. I was like, I'd wake up.
Our generation would have a lot of CDs.
Yeah, but I'd wake up in the morning, just put a CD on and listen to it all the way through. But for Avenged Sevenfold, this would have been my first one because it's the first CD I had.
Damn, that's a big deal then. Yeah. That's cool.
And I would just put it on my computer, burn the disc onto my. Or download it,
MP3 or whatever, yeah, or onto your MP3 player. Do you remember those? I had like a yellow one that I took into school, and I had I think I had Chapter 4, Unholy Confessions, and I think I had those, and then This Means War on there, along with a few Iron Maiden songs and Pantera.
I didn't get that far because I didn't have an MP3 player.
This was before my iPod Touch.
Yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't. It was it was at the same time as maybe.
It was more. I was just had it on the computer and I just thought, watch the visualizer do its magic.
Yeah, the old.
I love the Windows
visualizer.
Yeah, my computer for about 15 years was stuck on Windows XP.
The Windows XP music thing. Oh, I love it. What was that even called? I don't know what it's called. It made pretty pattern visualizer. Right.
It's just called that.
I love that. Damn, that is a time capsule back in time. That is.
It's one thing I miss. I know there's probably
there's lots of things I miss from that time. But
I can never connect that computer to the internet though.
No, probably an absolute pain.
No, well it could connect, but because it's Windows XP, their soft security had been shut down for 10 years.
Well, there you go.
As soon as it connected to the internet, Trojan horses, viruses, and backdoor gates would just break into my PC.
Oh, you listen to Avenged? Me too. Download this link. It's definitely their new album.
Demons would take that over.
Yeah.
Good song.
Yeah. We'll get to that. Bit of an early segue, but well done. So I guess we'll go on our first commercial break, and we'll try and speed through these next 2 or 3 albums in the next half an hour of the podcast. So we'll see you there.
God fucking damn it. The song I always use in these adverts is copyrighted now. I don't know what music to use for this video that isn't copyrighted. What to do?
Is the music that you usually use copyrighted now, and now you need to find new music to replace it?
Yes. How do you know that?
I'm always watching.
I'm sorry, were you selling me something, or did you just come in here to be creepy?
Well, have I got news for you? I know exactly where you can get copyright-free music. YouTube!
Okay.
Shall we proceed?
Okay.
Specifically, YouTube Music Library, free of any copyright infringement. Care to proceed?
No. I don't care to proceed. Get out of my house!
Fair enough.
I really need to change my address. And the locks. And identity.
Right.
Okay, so I just found the list of everything, of all the songs that have been in games.
In Avenged.
Yeah.
The catalogue. Alright, hit me.
So let's start with 2003, with Chapter 4. It's been in 3 things.
Okay.
And you'd be surprised.
Okay, well, go for it. I did say it was in a game soundtrack, was I right?
NASCAR Thunder.
Oh, okay.
Madden NFL.
Okay.
So a football game.
Interesting.
And NHL, I think that's hockey.
Interesting.
I'm like, okay.
Interesting. I mean, I'm technically
They had a weird deal with, I think that's EA. Would that be NA? EA?
Yeah, it would be EA. Most of the songs they have on soundtracks that they didn't write for a specific video game were from EA. I think.
But that is
EA
very...
Sport. Yeah, it's in the game.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
What are the other songs that are on soundtracks, as you've got
We
that
will
up?
get there.
Okay, so they're all on this next album, etc. are they?
Quite a few.
Okay, well, let's move on to the third
I'm still
studio
scrolling.
album. It's okay, we'll get to those. So City of Evil is the next full length, and this one would further skyrocket their popularity through songs like Backcountry that would further destroy the world when it comes to Avenged popularity. We'll get on to songs like that. Beast and the Harlot was another really big one for them. What else was on this thing? There was... I love Strength of the World. I think MIA is pretty great. Seize the Day was a very big hit for them as well. Especially the very melodramatic music video, which is fun, but very melodramatic. But
do people
overall,
like MIA? I do, but...
I fucking love MIA. It's basically, going back to the whole thing about Shattered by Broken Dreams, that was like their first attempt on like an epic closing track. I think MIA is the first one. I did like Shattered by Broken Dreams, but no one really talks about that song. MIA is an amazing, epic finale of this whole album. Essentially, this is the first case where Avenged kind of subvert expectations between albums. So there were changes between Seventh Trumpet and Waking the Fallen, but they were negligible at best. There was more punk with metal to metal with punk. That was the change between those two albums. Whereas this, they drop all of the Fry vocals, and which is the only thing people fucking talk about when they get to this, but they completely just swip. They completely switch. They swip. Oh, they swip somewhere. They switch from metalcore to essentially speed metal, or some people argue like
speed metal,
or like thrash or something.
Makes sense based on everything I'm reading right now.
It's fast as fuck, boy. So this album
fast as a fuck boy.
But it's a good album. I think because of how fucking when people talk about what the best Avenged album is, this is always the one people fucking say. And that might be the reason why I neglected to give it its day in court for a long time. Because when we were listening to Avenged, we latched onto, like I say, Waking the Fallen, Nightmare, Hail to the King. Those were our main three that we did. But self-titled was also there. This one, I did like it a lot. There were a lot of great songs on there, but I would never be like, oh, this is an amazing Avenged record. This is definitely top 3. Because everyone else was saying it, and the contrarian in me is
it's
like...
It's top 5.
It isn't... I mean... I like all their albums, so I don't think putting like a number on it. I think it's asinine, really. But yeah, it's a great album. But the fact that everyone else said it's great made me go, I'm not going to like it now. But no, it is amazing. It's got a lot of interesting variety in there. Like Seize the Day is very mellow and like acoustic in parts. Strength of the World is like a western, like a spaghetti western soundtrack song. Same with Sidewinder. Actually. You like Sidewinder a lot, don't you?
I like Sidewinder.
That's Betrayed is like the most straightforward Avenged song on here, really. I suppose Trashed and Scattered is like... I think that Trashed and Scattered and like Betrayed are like the two songs
I love
that
the chorus of
could
Trashed and Scattered.
Closest of this album be lumped in with Waking the Fallen. The rest of it is so vastly un-Waking the Fallen. Like, because I think Beast and the Harlot was the lead single in this album, I believe. And when that dropped, the fan base was like, "Where's the metalcore? Where's the screaming? Where's all that?" And because Beast and the Harlot was so, like, I go back to like the sugary, like hooky chorus that's so, it's so you can bop to that fucking song. Whereas you didn't bop to like Eternal Rest or not really Unholy Confessions either. But Beast and the Harlot,
I could.
You could bop along to that fucking thing.
I so could.
I know you could. You'd find a way to. You'd find a way to do the Harlem Shake along to a Cannibal Corpse song, so...
Oh, your age is showing, God.
Yeah, I don't fucking care.
Let's stick to Beast and Harlot quickly.
Yeah, let's go. So what soundtrack was that in?
Burnout.
Everyone.
Burnout to Revenge.
Okay.
Yeah, but before I continue this album is just perfect driving music for me.
It's a great car album, you're right.
Yeah. Which I'm surprised the most calm song in there, Backcountry, is not in a racing game.
It's not, is it?
It's not.
It does feel like it should be in like a racing game.
It's in Madden again, NFL.
Yeah.
NHL and SSX, which I think is a like snowboarding game.
Okay, like a Olympic sport type of game.
Not Olympic sports. It's like more, those tricks, like specifically snowboarding, not skiing.
Yeah, like it's like a Tony Hawk game, but for like snowboarding.
Yeah,
interesting. That sounds really fun.
It's like, I would have put that in the most racing game, game in there.
Yeah.
But no, that's the only one.
Of very fast ones, I think.
Yeah. But Beast and the Harlot, they actually had to censor Harlot. They just called it Beast ...
Pussies. Fucking wimps. Oh no, they said Harlot. Ooh. Anyway,
guess they can't play Charlotte the Harlot then.
No.
Charlotte the...
Charlotte the... Oopsie, I did a naughty.
Charlotte from 22nd Acacia Avenue.
Yeah, from 22, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so what else is on this album that's on soundtracks, real quick? Should we riddle through them? So, we have Beast and the Harlot, Blinded in Chains and Need for Speed, which I completely took your thunder there.
Yes!
Going through that. That was his first song.
That one.
I was just reading it and I can tell that you were like, shut up!
That one is ingrained in my head. It's, as soon as I heard it after you showed it to me, I was like, I recognise this.
Oh, yeah.
It was a thing, it annoyed me because I recognised it.
Where was it from, yeah?
Then because I had Need for Speed Most Wanted and I grew up on that game. Like, played it when I started playing it when I was 5. My brother broke the PlayStation, so we didn't have a PlayStation or the game. It was specifically in that game on the first boss.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah, it's a racing game with bosses. That confuses me still.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but the soundtrack was just metal and rap, and has probably influenced my whole life.
Yeah, it's definitely...
Got it on the 360, and then I heard this song and went...
What is this?
Like, no! It's like it clicks all in place, and this is actually... So I recently got a car. This is the first song I played in that car.
Really?
I wanted the cushion.
Oh, with your fucking tiny aux player that you were mentioning earlier. You just put your fucking headphone jack into the car. Blinded in Chains now.
Yes.
When did you do that? Like
pretty much since I bought it.
Yesterday or?
No.
Oh, nice.
I wasn't driving though.
Yeah.
My dad was driving, but the first song I had to play was Blinded in Chains.
Yeah, nice. That's sick. Actually.
Second song was Decadence.
Decadence. What's that?
Disturbed. Did I say it wrong again?
I don't know. Which album was that from? Was that from Inside the Fire?
10,000 Fists.
10,000 Fists. Oh yes, it was. Yeah. Wait, was it? Who cares? Different band. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've thought about Disturbed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But
it's like that song is great in my head, and I love that song.
It is an amazing song. It's one of the best ones on this album, I think. I think my favourite by fucking far is Strength of the World. I fucking love Strength of the World. It is like a 9-minute epic. I don't know. It sounds like a spaghetti western soundtrack mixed with some serious metal grooves. It's just I love it. It's one of my favourite Avenged songs. Period. I love it to pieces.
Ignoring my nostalgia for Blinded in Chains, Backcountry is really good, and MIA. Those are my top 2 from this.
It's interesting because I remember growing up, we weren't a big fan of Backcountry for the same reasons that I wasn't a big fan of the album. In that it's the popular one, and it's like,
I think I was just being like, I don't like it too. Just subtly playing it to myself all the time.
Fair enough. I mean, I like Backcountry. It's not my favourite on here, but it's decent. But interesting story about Strength of the World and Seize the Day. When I was getting my my canine teeth removed, I said, can I listen to music while this is done? Because this is probably going to hurt. It did hurt. I'll get to that story at a future date. That's not a story for today. But can I listen to music? I need something to distract me from this shit. and so like, okay. And so I had my iPod Touch where I had a bunch of Avenged albums already downloaded from the App Store or iTunes, right? That's what it was called. I don't have an Apple product anymore. It shows. And I just put I put Avenged on shuffle, and I got Strength of the World and Seize the Day. I got those 2 songs. So those 2 songs were the soundtrack of me in agonising pain as my baby teeth, as my canines were being removed. Yeah, fun. That's a fun little fact for you there. But Yeah. Anyway, that's a fun little side tangent about those tracks for me. But MIA is amazing. It's an amazing closing track. I always, in my head, thought that it was longer song than Strength of the World, but looking at it now, it's interesting that Strength of the World is half a minute longer.
Strength of the World is that long?
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it, does it? It does fly by, doesn't it?
MIA does feel the longest.
It does. Me too. I've always
but not in a bad way. It's not. It's not like it drags on.
It's like the Save Me effect or the Exist sort of thing.
Save Me's long?
Save Me is like 10 minutes.
What the fuck?
Yeah. We'll get to that album when we get to it, but we'll get to all that good stuff.
So I think MIA, because it has so much different stuff in it, it doesn't feel long.
No, that's right.
Well, it purposely feels longer than it is.
Yeah, that's
got time.
Cool.
But last two songs, Blinded in Chains was also in Arena Football. They had something with EA.
They did.
And then...
Or EA had a thing for Avenged.
And then the start...
Give us more songs.
And then I think this will be the start of their working with Activision, Guitar Hero 2.
Interesting.
Beast and the Harlot.
Yes, it was.
Cover.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That would have been the start of their Activision deal, where they start working with a certain...
We'll get to it.
Shooter.
We'll get to a certain first-person shooter that they start collaborating with. But we've got one more album to get through before we get to that.
Okay.
Actually, technically two, but kind of half of an album before we get to the actual one that started things off. But anyway, City of Evil... Pretty damn great. For a while I just kind of thought, I'd kind of just cherry-picked songs for many years and I didn't really give the full album its day in the sun for myself until a lot later on. But it is an amazing album. It is really good and it is... So, you have to understand how fucking stark of a contrast it is between Waking the Fallen and that. They were very brave to change their sound so much. Like, it is a violent change in sound from what is essentially, they were just a metalcore band. And then they just completely went far and away from it in the opposite direction.
I was used to their later stuff, so Nightmare and Hell to the King. So they're going back to Waking the Fallen. That is the reverse snap of like, this is not who.
This is not.
Who are these screamo boys?
Yeah, exactly. It's just crazy to think about that at the time they were like, fuck it, no, we're not just going to do another metalcore record. We've done that sound. If they want more metalcore, Waking the Fallen isn't going anywhere. They can go back to it whenever they like. But we're doing this other thing now because that's what we want to make, and I just really respect that. Anyway, self-titled. This is basically the original lineup of Avenged in full swing. People argue they're going through the motions here. I fucking disagree entirely. I think they've perfected their craft. This is further away from their metalcore route, but they still dip their toes back into it in certain songs. But what I like on here is every song on here has its own identity. Like obviously in City of Evil that's the same case, but they all fit like the concept of the album. They feel like part of the same package. Whereas on this album, it does feel like every single song has its own thing to say, I guess, is my thing on this album. Self-titled is often one that I overlook, and I always forget how many hits are on this thing. Like, Brompton Cocktail is one that I love. Obviously, A Little Piece of Heaven needs no introduction. Yeah, Afterlife, Scream, Almost Easy, I'll let you talk now.
Yeah, when you said about top three, I'm like, oh, okay, this is the thing we're doing now. Okay, what's my top three? And I thought, that's easy. Feels like it should be harder.
Yeah.
It's because I actually forgot
about the self-titled.
I think it's because it's the self-titled.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a unique name to remember. You just think, I love Avenged Sevenfold, but you don't think,
that's the album.
The album or the band?
That's it. It's so tough because when you think of three, you go, oh, Nightmare and that's self-titled. Oh, but also like See You. Oh, but also Waking the Fallen. But also like, you just. It's like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, this should show...
Too many good albums.
Well, this should show. I knew we were going to do this podcast, so I was like, we'll listen to Avenged Sevenfold for the next 2 days. Anytime a song from this album played, I had to keep playing it.
Yeah, it's just so... I mean, there's some songs
I was supposed to be listening to the latest album, so I had stuff to say. I ended up just re-putting this song on fucking loop.
There are a couple tracks on here that are skips for me. Dear God...
I'm pretty sure I'm half of those.
Huh? Yeah, you're probably half of the Afterlife
and Gunslinger
players. Definitely Gunslinger. You ldon't that fucking song.
I love Pumpkin Cocktails.
Yeah. I think Dear God is kind of a skip for me. I won't lie. I don't dislike it.
Is that the ending song?
That's the closing like ballad after Little Piece of Heaven. Dear God.
No, I know what song it is.
Okay, cool. Just didn't.
I wouldn't put that.
I don't dislike it. I think it is just the only one where I'm like, I'm not really feeling like that one. So I sometimes skip it. I never skip it if I'm listening to the album all the way through. But if I've got stuff on shuffle, then I'm like, you know what? Maybe another day. Unbound is another one that I'm like, so. It's all right. I know that you love the Wild Ride, Unbound the Wild Ride a lot, especially like.
I did.
I bet you'll be playing that in your car as soon as you can if you haven't already. You have already.
No, I haven't.
You haven't already. Won't take long though. I mean, you named one of your car playlists after that song, didn't you? The Wild Ride, right? On Spotify? Am I wrong in thinking that? Or did I?
I named my playlist by bashing a lot of names together.
Right. Fair enough.
Like, one of my playlists is called Strive.
Right.
They play on Strive.
Well, really?
In the victory of metal.
Nice.
Hail to the Kings of Metal, so Hail to the King and King of Metal by Manowar.
Right. Yeah.
So I know one of them might be something. It is my driving playlist. Is named after this, I think. Driving down the wild ride on the
to the highway to hell.
The wild ride on the highway of hell to hell. Like, yeah.
Love it.
I gave the longest name.
Yeah. Essentially just like a Trivium song title.
Yeah, I think I also split it up, so I made 3 playlists, a heavier one, a one just of ballads like Slow Drive,
right.
and a one that has all of them.
Nice.
But I made the playlist Stairway to Heaven, Highway to Hell, and then the full name.
Fucking hell. I love it.
I will find it.
Okay, I'll vamp while you do that. So this album has a couple songs that further shot this band into the stratosphere. Afterlife is one of them. Definitely a song that gets talked about still to this day. Almost Easy is another big hit for the band. Critical Acclaim wasn't as popular on the album when it came out, but nowadays it is like a live staple, or at least has been for a long time. Climbing the Stairway to Heaven, or The Wild Ride on the Highway to Hell. Jesus. Good luck reading that and not having a stroke halfway through.
And it's like 122 hours of music. I'm never going to drive that much.
You're never going to get through the playlist. Anyway, back to the self-title.
Yes.
So, I used to not like Lost very much, but now I really dig it. Like, it's really catchy. Like, the chorus is like, it's just such a nice anthem moment in there. Yeah. Brompton Cocktail is kind of like a taste. Well, I suppose it's Brompton Cocktail and... funny. That was unintentional, by the way. But Brompton Cocktail and Little Piece of Heaven are kind of a taste of what Pinkley Smooth might have turned into in some ways. It feels like that those songs might have ended up on a Pinkley Smooth album in another life.
Yeah, I think those two had the most Rev influence.
Definitely. The Little Piece of Heaven was all Rev. I don't know about Brompton Cocktail, but I know Little Piece of Heaven was just the Rev.
He pushed for the back singing on this, and speaking of the back singing, Almost Easy, where
Critical Acclaim.
Critical Acclaim, but Almost Easy specifically was known most as like where they got everyone to sing. It's like, we even got Johnny who can't sing for shit. And
I mean,
I'm taking the piss out of him.
Well, I can't talk about self-titled without talking about... I suppose I can wait and talk about it after when we get to Diamonds in the Rough. But Live at the LBC is an amazing live album that I just still absolutely fucking adore. And going back to the backing vocals thing you said, on the performance of, I think it's, well, most of the songs on there, but Critical Acclaim especially, is an amazing example of a band at the top of their game with all members just absolutely fucking ripping on stage. Like, every member was singing their hearts out. They were all playing. Matt Shadows' vocals are better than ever. It's just... And also, like I say, you can see the Rev at the back singing his heart out while he's fucking double kick drumming. Also, he's growing extra limbs back there, you know what I mean? It's just amazing live performance, and I love that live album so fucking much. But I'll briefly touch on that when we get to when that was released. But what were you going to say?
Okay, this is annoying me. I thought they were in song order. It turns out it's the release of the game.
Okay.
There's quite a few songs already, so I'm run off the previous...
Just run off the list, or maybe run it off at the end or something.
Backcountry, St. Troy's 2, Backcountry, Rock Band 2, Beast and the Harlech, Guitar Hero Smash Hits.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bunch.
Guitar Hero has Almost Easy, Scream, Rock Band. I saw Rock Band down there.
There's a 5? Guitar Hero 5 has Afterlife.
Of course there's 5. Rock Band 3 had Unholy Confessions and Welcome to the Family. carry on and all that stuff. We'll talk about Black Ops when we get to it.
Yeah.
You get the idea.
I
mean, in the early days with Waking the Fallen, City of Evil, they would get a lot of features on video game soundtracks when they needed the exposure. But when they got later in their career, they could pick and choose what video games they wanted to collaborate with.
Yeah.
Rather than their label just being like, we'll give them Unholy Confessions again. We'll give Rock Band critical acclaim. Who
Start
cares?
making their own stuff.
But yeah, also, so going on to Almost Easy, it was mixed twice for this album.
Mm-hmm.
One was the Jam-Along version and the other was its actual album version. The Jam-Along version was mixed early because they were working on the album when the Transformer movie was like, hey, we want this song, can we have it? And he's like, we'll mix it early for you, the album's not mixed yet. So they mixed it, didn't get used in the film.
Still in the credits though.
It's still in the credits, so that's something. But yeah, and then there was a third mix for it in Diamonds in the Rough, so that's the third time.
I reckon that song would have been used in place of Linkin Park song.
What do you mean? Which
There's
Linkin
a famous
Park
song.
was that?
What I've done.
Oh yeah. I don't know what the name of it is, but fair enough. I don't really listen to Linkin Park.
I know, but it's like there's all those memes about an action film is like directed by Michael Bay. And it's that song.
Yeah. Michael Bay goes, Linkin Park. That's who we need. But yeah, it's an amazing album. The thing is with this one, essentially, I look at it. And I just kind of remember all of the good shit that's on it. Like, I used to not be a big fan of Gunslinger. I've warmed up to it. Same with Lost.
I love Gunslinger.
Scream was my favourite on the album for a long time. I still adore it. It was the first song I discovered on this album. And as like a personal connection to this album for me, I bought the CD the week before I went to Spain on my holiday in 2016. So... when I had my Discman, my like portable disc player, Discman, I sound so fucking old. I basically
got it wrong. It's a Walkman.
No, Walkman is a tape player, cassette tape.
I've never
player.
heard of a Discman.
It's basically a portable CD player. Discman.
I didn't know that.
Discman. Boxman.
You sound like a really
but this album is
superhero.
essentially the soundtrack of my summer of that year. And so when I hear stuff like Scream, Afterlife, Critical Acclaim, it takes me back. You know, I enjoy it. Cool. I think that's about it for self-titled. Before we move on to, I suppose there is a bit of a lead up to Diamonds in the Rough before we actually get to it, where they did a few songs. They released a few songs on their own. They released a cover of Walk by Pantera. If that cover wasn't released, I might not have discovered Pantera, one of my favourite bands. So I have so much that I owe to Avenged for introducing me to Pantera inadvertently.
I think I had that song first, like the original version,
right?
But this version was like,
yeah, it's a good version. I think both versions are great, to be honest. I don't want to pick. Don't make me pick between them. But and then the other one, they also released a single that was just on its own at first. There was a song called Crossroads that was a scrapped song from, I believe, it was the self-titled that it belonged in. But they were like, shit, it's good, but it doesn't belong on here, so we'll kind of release it on its own.
I think it was like somewhere in between. It's like
right.
a bit of City of Evil vibe to it as well.
Yeah, it could be.
Plays on the car thing as well.
It could have been like a mixture of the two. Maybe like the riffs were written for City of Evil and they're like, we'll do something with that later. And then when they came back to it for self-titled, they were like, okay, let's make a song out of it. And they're like, this is a sick song, doesn't work on this album.
Because it has little almost EV vibes mixed with City of Evil album.
It does feel like it's got like trashed and scattered sort of speed and tempo, but with a sort of like, I don't know, I guess finesse to it that the self-titled had. I don't know, it's interesting. Yeah. It's an interesting song. But then...
Walk being a driving song.
It's just the slowest fucking dirgy song ever. Yeah, so this is the bit that sucks. So 2008 Crossroads single comes out. The band goes silent for a while, working on another album called Nightmare. We'll get to that. But as they're making it, as they're writing it, the Rev passes. He accidental overdose. It was the cause of death.
It wasn't accidental,
wasn't it? Not.
He took a Brompton cocktail himself.
I don't think that's true. I think it was an accidental overdose.
It was a suicide. It was.
I think it was an accidental one though. That's what I'm thinking.
There's fiction was believed to be his suicide note.
Right. Okay.
That's why.
Well, I mean, the lyrics do feel. I mean, I don't know, it's up for debate. I'm kind of on the fence about the circumstances of it. I suppose
his heart condition got quite bad, so...
I don't know. How long have we got left? Do we have time to talk about the next one? We only got 3 minutes. I guess we'll wrap up with this on a nice little bummer note before the ad break. But Jimmy passed as they were making Nightmare. And we'll get to that album in a bit, but after the commercial break we'll talk briefly about a compilation album that they released shortly in the interim while they were still working on finishing Nightmare. But yeah, with that bummer out of the way, let's go on a commercial break and talk about some of their best albums to come.
I've got Trash and Scatter stuck in my head.
I know, it's a bop, it really is. See you after these messages. What's your my blood is so cold. My destination's always unknown. I found my way there. God damn it, won't really mind. Anyway.
Hey, you there! You look like an Avenged Sevenfold fan. Are you?
No. I'm more into Maroon 5.
Would you be interested in investing in a Deathbat Club exclusive NFT?
No. I'm not that interested. Please get out of my house.
Oh, okay. Eating my own hair. I would have thought because because you're just there and this is an advert and I'd like to offer something that you might like, but I'll see myself out.
Please do.
Don't actually know how I got in here. There's only a window behind me. I definitely didn't get through there. I'll just crawl up into my hole and die then.
Please do.
See you in a bit.
Right, okay, welcome back from that commercial break. So, talking about Crossroads and Walk, they wanted a home to put these songs on, and also with the Live at the LBC performance being a personal favourite of theirs, and also a personal favourite of the band's, and the fan bases and everything, they decided to release a double album. The primary reason for this is they wanted a live album. They wanted to release a live album, but they thought, let's also release some extra unseen music. Let's release some cut songs on this thing. So Live at the LBC, like I said, one of my favourite performances the band's ever done, and I love it to pieces. And on disc 2 was Diamonds in the Rough, their compilation of B-side tracks that didn't make previous albums. So we won't talk about the 2020 version because there are some extra B-sides that were added to that later on for the vinyl version that would release 10 years after the original version of this. But in this compilation we'd have Demons, as you previously mentioned, Girl I Know, Crossroads for the second time, Flash of the Blade, Iron Maiden cover, Until the End, Tension, Walk for the second time, The Fight, and Dancing Dead, as well as a few different mixes of existing songs they've already done, like Afterlife and Almost Easy. So yeah, this album is mostly mixed of cut tracks from City of Evil and Self-Titled. Those are the two albums that these kind of songs come from, and you can kind of tell which albums these songs come from. Like Tension has got Self-Titled written all over it, like it feels so left pocket, whereas Dancing Dead definitely feels like a sort of City of Evil speed and energy to it in some ways. The Fight feels a bit... St. James! Demons feels like a City of Evil song. Crossroads a bit of both maybe. Until the End feels like a self-titled moment. But yeah, it's a great little collection of songs here. It used to be my favourite album by the band. I still love it to pieces. There are so many of my favourite songs on this album, especially when we get to the 2020 version. We'll talk more about it then. But for right now, we'll bookmark this album. We'll talk about it in detail later. But the main note is they released the Live at the LBC performance with most of the original version of Diamonds in the Rough with it. And that was that for a time.
And another Almost Easy mix.
Yeah, because they...
What was it called? The...
it was
just alternate mix.
Alternate mix. The Jam Along mix was the final track on Self-Titled for some reason.
Actually,
Right.
I think there was one more then, because I saw one with a different name entirely.
Yeah.
The Quest Lord.
Oh yeah.
Alga
I forgot about that one.
mix.
Interesting.
So it's 4.
I don't know, but there's a lot. That's the moral of the story. I've got a lens flare on the camera. What's happened there? Oh, okay, so that needs to close. There you go. That's better.
I live in darkness.
I'm Batman. Anyway, right. Okay, now we move on to the album they were working on up until Christmas of 2010 or 2009. In 2009, up till Christmas, they were writing their next album. They didn't have a name for the album, but they just named it after the lead single because it's a fitting title for this album, Nightmare. So this album, obviously, under different circumstances, it might not have ever got finished because a lot of this music was just written by the Rev. The riffs were still by Sin. The lyrics and some of the hooks were written by Matt still, but a lot of it is the Rev. Because when it came to the finished product, they had a lot of written music on the table of what could make the final album, but in the wake of Jimmy's passing, they said, no, all of our stuff fucking sucks. We are just using all of the music that Jimmy wrote and adding what needs to be added to these songs. This is for Jimmy. And essentially they wanted to finish this album for him in his memory.
Yeah.
And I think this album was the first time the band got like a critical accolade. And I forgot what the actual award was. Search up on your phone. There was a music award that they won for this album. I forget what it was, but it was a big deal. And because I remember in an interview, Matt Shadows basically said, "Yeah, it's cool and all that we got that award, but we didn't reap the rewards. We weren't happy about that because we didn't get to share the reward with our friend who wrote most of the fucking thing." You know, it's quite sad to think about. But what I will say is, with all the emotion packed into this thing, and how many good songs are on this thing, and it might be also the fact that I am just a sucker for the Rev's music writing, this album is my favourite Avenged album. It is amazing. And another thing that actually might make it my favourite Avenged album is also because it's the Rev's writing with Mike Portnoy's drumming. Because in the lead up to recording the drum sections on this album, they reached out to one of the Rev's drumming heroes, Dream Theater's Mike Portnoy, and said, look, Jimmy wrote all this stuff and it would really mean the world to us if you could fill in his drum duties for us. Did you find it on your phone?
It was just a lot of awards.
Well, there you go. But essentially it was... Mike Portnoy goes, yes, of course I will, guys, it's fine. And I'm not sure whose story this was, but either Brooks or Mike, maybe both, have gone on record saying...
No, it was Mike, because it was talking about this album specifically.
Right, well, there you go.
The song Nightmare.
Where he was saying... Was it not Natural Born Killer? Because that was the fastest on the album. Or is that not... I'm not sure. But I know what you mean. Or it could have been God Hates Us. That's quite a fast one. Anyway, if it was Mike, like you say, then he went on record saying, I'm a good drummer, but holy shit, it's hard to keep up with what Jimmy does.
Because it was talking about his notes. Like...
Because you'd think that like a prog drummer like Mike Portnoy would be able to keep up with Jimmy easily, but you have to remember that Jimmy was inspired by like prog, but also listened to so much like punk and hardcore stuff, which was just brutally fast and just all over the place. Whereas Mike Portnoy, very traditional in like writing style, he couldn't keep up because it was just so left field to what he's used to playing. And it's just so cool that the Rev transcended one of his idols in skill, arguably, I'd say.
Well, yeah. And now that he's done that, he's now trying to be a knife master.
He's gone to the forest to be a knife master. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Damn, it's so sad. This album is chocked to the gills with emotion, and it's felt here. Like all of the vocal takes on Matt's singing, you can feel like the anguish in his voice as he's singing all this stuff. And so most of the lyrics that are here were written by the Rev as well. You hear the Rev's like demos on this album. Most of the lyrics are unchanged. Like they alter bits of it, but especially with like Fiction. Fiction is a great example of like they heard the demo, they heard all the stuff that Jimmy wrote. It's like, no, this is beautiful. We have to keep as much of Jimmy from the original version in this final song as we can, and that's why they use Jimmy's vocal takes from his demo recording of Fiction for most of the song. Like Matt essentially does a duet with the Rev in Fiction, and the Fiction is one of my favourite Avenged songs. It is an absolutely beautiful track. But there's so many other songs on here that are just as amazing. Like Buried Alive, Danger Line, Welcome to the Family. So Far Away was a very big hit for the band. I think that might have gotten them an award or two.
Wasn't that one done after the other songs?
That's actually a good point. So Far Away was the only song on this album that had no writing credits by the Rev. So Far Away was the rest of the band writing a song saying goodbye to him. And the music video for So Far Away is beautiful. I absolutely love watching that thing. But Natural Born Killer is also really fun. Like the cowbell chime after the build up. It always gives me a little chuckle.
That is just full Rev.
It just feels like him all over it. But
it's just a childish person.
It is. But there's so much variety on here. Like you have ballads like So Far Away, Victim, but you have more experimental moments like Tonight the World Dies and like Save Me, for example. Buried Alive is the most straightforward song on here. It feels like a classic sort of like rock ballad. But it's so fucking well put together. It's the definition of less is more when you're writing a song. It is. Yeah.
So, this is where I started experimenting more. I still haven't gotten to the song that actually got me into them, like noticed them properly.
Right. We'll get to that after this album, because that's when they start.
But two of these songs, Nightmare and Buried Alive, I still didn't have Spotify at this point, so I was just using YouTube.
Yeah.
I remember what game I was playing. I was playing Crisis 3, and on my phone next to me was just Buried Alive.
Yeah.
And every time it stopped, I just restarted the song.
Yeah, I've done that a few times with a few of the tracks on this album as well, actually.
It was those first two songs, and it's these two plus the song we're going to get to later that made my knowledge of what Avenged Sevenfold sounds, and is hence why,
and then
to me, Unholy Confession was a jet lag.
Just absolutely fucking monstrous and heavy compared to... Because this stuff, obviously it's heavy, it's metal. Duh. But there is a certain melody to their songwriting here that was just approached differently in their early stuff, you know. But that's why I like this band, is they're always changing. If you go from one album to another, they won't sound the same. That's how we're so able when we go on like Diamonds in the Rough, and we're able to tell almost with complete confidence which song came from which album, whether it was self-titled or City of Evil, because they have such a defined sound from album to album. Like, even between Nightmare and Hail to the King, like Hail to the King, we'll get to it, is way closer to sort of like what you'd consider like an AC/DC record, you know, or like a Guns N' Roses thing. Whereas Nightmare is way closer to like a thrash record, if anything, but with like serious like goth moments in there as well, and gloominess. Like the atmosphere on this album is brilliant, especially on songs like Tonight the World Dies, Buried Alive, like Victim, and then Save Me. Oh my god, it's 11 minutes, not 10. Look. 10 minutes 56. What? Save Me does not feel that long, I tell you. But then also Victim doesn't feel that long. Victim 7.5 minutes. Look at that. Victim 7.5 minutes. Victim does not feel that long, does it?
No.
And Buried Alive is nearly 7 minutes as well. That's interesting. And ironically enough, Welcome to the Family is the shortest song on there, which doesn't feel right to me.
Welcome to the family.
Overall, Nightmare is an amazing album. It is my favourite.
That song was used a few times in a few games as well. Mainly Call of Duty.
What, Welcome to the Family?
No, Nightmare.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course it was. But we'll get to that stuff, I guess.
Oh no, it's actually Nightmare is in
Black Ops 3, right?
Yeah, but apparently it's also in Black Ops 1, which I heard rumours about this.
Huh?
Yeah, second Easter egg song apparently on 5. It was rumoured at one point.
No.
It was rumoured.
That doesn't sound right to me. I would have known about that.
They've got a credit of them on Black Ops 1, and it's not from the other song.
Well, as you're mentioning Nightmare, a quick wrap up on that. They did a EP called Welcome to the Family where they released a unreleased Nightmare song called 4am. So 4am was the B-side track on that EP of Welcome to the Family. Just a little note about 4am. Keep note of that song because that will come back in a few albums' time.
It's on Moon.
Is it? Holy shit.
Yeah, it's part of an achievement.
Interesting.
It's the Easter egg, one of the Easter egg songs on Moon. Which I
might have known that.
I think it's so forgotten because everyone remembers the next song.
Yeah,
which
but
is the next song.
Yeah, I'm glad that you segued so accidentally perfectly to it. But yeah, we what was our time at? Are we nearly at the next break? Because I don't want to run out of time.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. We can do another album. So now we get to the Call of Duty era. So Nightmare was going to be the band's final album. They weren't going to release anything else. They were done. They did not want to continue without their best friend. But then they get approached by their label of, hey, we wanna collab with a metal band to make an Easter egg song for this new game mode we're expanding on, Call of Duty Zombies. And around this time of grief in the band, they would play like COD multiplayer together religiously as a band. Not the whole band, but most of the band and the band's surrounding friend group would all play COD, and they'd be really stupid good at it. And so when they got this offer, they said, "Oh, maybe we'll make another song as it's Call of Duty, as we're all into Call of Duty, as it's something we actually believe in, maybe." And so they go meet with Treyarch, and they all meet. And on Treyarch's end, I've forgotten the guy's name who orchestrated it, who wanted like a metal band that actually knew what Call of Duty was and actually played it. They want the collaboration to be as authentic as possible, so they actually believed in it, which is why the next song is so accidentally genius for the game and just as a song, because they understood the mission. They understood that when you're playing zombies, song structure is important, but you also need to make the song fit perfectly as a soundtrack for the type of game that you're creating it for. So Not Ready to Die was a single they released for Black Ops 1 Zombies on the map Call of the Dead, and it's brilliant. I think it runs at like 7 minutes long, which is crazy because they hadn't done many long songs like that at that stage. The only
we thought they did
that length. Well, yeah, but turns out that City of Evil has a lot of them that are nearly 7 minutes. Anyway, but yeah, it's an amazing song. I won't linger on it too much because it's one song, but it did bring the band out of a serious slump. Like, they were never going to play music again. They were never going to write albums again. But then Treyarch were like, hey, we need a metal band that actually understands Call of Duty. And in their grief, they didn't want to talk to anyone. They wanted to stay with their online friends and just kill people in games and forget about the fact that they've lost their friend. And so Call of Duty being their safety blanket, them going to them and saying, can you make a song for us? We're like, oh, fucking go on then. And so, yeah, it's like the stars aligned for this to happen. Like, it's under any other circumstances, I don't think the band would have come back with another album or ever would have toured again or made music again. I don't know. They might not have done. You never know, but
But it's also with that song specifically, it's not just they made something for it. They took inspiration from the actual games already.
Yeah,
music.
you can feel like you can feel like in the song Not Ready to Die, they heard other Easter egg songs from Call of Duty like 115 or Beauty of Annihilation, and were like, okay, challenge accepted. We'll make something like that, but not ripping it off though.
Yeah, those vibes. But also they took the segment of Damned,
and
the most infamous song from called Zombies.
Yeah,
and it's just in the middle of it.
Inserted that piano lick in the middle of the song before it just explodes with guitars. They clearly understood who they were writing for, and it's just so cool to think about. The next song,
still not the song that got us into Avenged Sevenfold.
Well, for me it was the first Avenged song I heard. Thank you very much. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, now you mentioned it.
It was the first. I didn't know consciously that it was Avenged. I did, but it's like I never seeked them out after hearing the song. I loved the song.
It was his blinded.
I loved the it was my Blinded in Chains. But I loved all of the Call of Duty Zombies soundtrack and all of the metal that was in there, like 115, Beauty of Annihilation. What else was on there? Paradalia. There was We All Fall Down, stuff like that.
Yeah. So like that, I've baptised my car with
Blinded in Chains.
If you ever end up in a zombie apocalypse, you have to blast this as loud as you can.
Yeah.
Bring all the zombies to you.
Yeah. Guys, 1 second. I need to get the song ready. Imagine. But yeah, so yeah, Not Ready to Die was the first song I heard because I would religiously play. And the second song I would ever hear of the band is Carry On. Under the same circumstances, is that it was just in the soundtrack of one of my favourite games at the time. So Carry On was written for the Black Ops 2 soundtrack, not the Black Ops 2 Zombies soundtrack, sadly. So it's not as well cultivated as Not Ready to Die in terms of as creating it for a specific zombie map, for a specific idea, but it is still a cracking song that I love to pieces. Yeah. And
So before Origins came out, I did play the campaign.
Origins is a Call of Duty map, by the way.
Yes,
because some people might not know. Because this is we don't play video games on this channel. But anyway,
so I did play through this, and I thought it was a band mate. I still didn't know who they were, but this one get them noticed to me. So I saw the band they animated the characters.
Yes, in the Carry On music video, yeah, with what was his name? Menendez. He was the drummer.
No, Frank Woods was. Sergeant Frank Woods. Menendez was a bass player.
Oh, yeah.
Was a spare bass player.
Poor Johnny. Johnny just gets left out.
I think Johnny was there as well.
He was just sat in the background having a beer.
Yeah, but it's so I finished the campaign and then got this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh. So I thought this was a made-up band. So
yeah,
all I know is that this song was cool.
Because when you showed me the stuff like Unholy Confessions and we discovered stuff from City of Evil self-titled. Before that, all I'd heard was Not Ready to Die, Carry On, Shepherd of Fire, I think Nightmare. I think that was it. There might have been one more, but those are the main ones. And then you basically showed me the other stuff. I'm like, oh, that's that Call of Duty band. It's basically what all I saw them as. Oh, Avenged Sevenfold. That's that fictional band from that video game. And you were like, well, I'll have you know. But yeah, Carry On was an amazing song written for Black Ops 2. Another song, like I say, it was probably the second song I heard. The first was definitely Not Ready to Die. I'm not sure what order the next songs I heard came in, but I know that Carry On was among the first that I unconsciously heard first.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the music video is fun as well. It's
it is.
This is the first time any of them's in the game, but it's not the last.
Yeah, it isn't.
And they had a lot of. They seemed like they had a lot of fun, doing the mocap and stuff. And
it seemed like they got their passion back. Those two songs, Not Ready to Die and then Carry On, was them being like, you know what, it's still fun writing songs. We'll do it for Jimmy. We'll keep going. And so they did. Do we have time to talk about Not Hail to the King?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. We'll speed round it. There's some great songs, but yeah. So they recruit a young and budding drummer called Aaron Elijah. I don't know. I've never known how to pronounce his surname.
It'll be written here.
No, it will not. It'll say something else. So Aaron was the touring session drummer for the band on their current tour, and when he was touring with them for a year, he was a good touring drummer. There was friction in the band when it came to songwriting, though. So technically, Aaron's first writing credit was the drum stuff in Not Ready to Die. So good on him. Good drum stuff in there. It's not the best shit in the world, but it's an amazing song with some good drum work. What more could you want? So Hail to the King comes around, and they wanted to go in a more, some people might argue, more accessible direction with a more radio-friendly metal approach, which is just the band expanding their repertoire of what they're able to do song-wise. So the last one was more in the gloomy, atmospheric, thrashy side, more angry, more hostile, for good reason. This one is more in the direction of making songs that will stay in your head like earworms. They're looking for the sort of Guns N' Roses effect, where you'll be humming the song later on. And so
this song definitely has the most inspiration from other bands. Yeah. It's to the point where some people just say, oh, you just stole
that. It's a cover band. It's a cover album or whatever.
It's like, well, no song's original.
No.
Half their stuff is... Everyone's stuff is, not just theirs.
So that criticism
the influence is strongest in this one. But I was like, cool.
But they wanted to make an album that would stick in your head. That was the point of it. Yeah, they wanted to pay homage to their like idols, or some of them, because obviously they're definitely not like taking inspiration from Mr. Bungle on this album, that's for fucking sure. But there is inspiration. You can hear a lot of like Metallica influence on here, a bit of Pantera, a lot of Guns N' Roses, etc. But the songs are a lot more straightforward style-wise. Still great. Some of my favourite Avenged songs are on here actually. Coming Home is absolutely fucking brilliant. I also love Acid Rain. I also quite like This Means War. That always used to be the song I'd play to hype me up if I'm having a bad day. Doing Time is pretty damn catchy as well. That feels like a nice sleazy rock song, that one, doesn't it?
I would have put that into Call of Duty as well.
Doing Time would have been a good like Need for Speed song, I would have thought.
Well, that too. But it's also zombies. It's like the writing on the wall. Just that lyric alone.
Writing on the wall. Oh yes. I forgot that lyric. There, you're absolutely right.
Writing on the wall. And it's like, and half the stuff you got from Call of Duty Zombies was just writing on the wall. It says, "Hey, go over here for the box."
Yeah. But no, Shepherd of Fire, one of the first songs from Avenged I heard, thanks to the zombie map Origins that you mentioned earlier.
Yes, and more specifically that one.
And that intro credit of Origins is just so cool because you see all the action heroes shooting zombies on tanks, and you just have Avenged playing in the background. And you're like, this is just ecstasy for a nerdy Call of Duty kid. Like, holy shit! Like, there's not much more you want in life than this cutscene of all that shit.
So I'd have to give a shout out, a thank you to Mr. Syndicate for this one.
Yes.
Because I heard this song when the Origins came out and went, yes, it sounds so awesome. Then I went to watch a live stream of it. Syndicate and went, oh yeah, fuck yeah, Avenged Sevenfold. Like, so what was that? And that's where I learned their name.
What is Avenged Sevenfold?
This song was the pivot.
I must know.
This was the pivot of me hearing them and researching them. This song, that first song.
This album is basically a rock and roll fusion with metal, with some rock ballads like Crimson Day and Acid Rain. You like to say Crimson Dale, I know you were getting ready to say it. And then you do have more heavier moments in there, like Requiem is a bit heavier, Planets is arguably a bit heavier, same with This Means War.
That may be in my head currently.
Huh?
Planets may be in my head currently.
Yeah.
Planets
collide. Like I said, Hail to the King, the title track is infamous, is still a live staple to this day, and for good reason, I'd say. It's very simplistic compared to previous writing credits from the band, but it's still catchy as fuck.
And is the name of their game.
It is. We can talk about that briefly if you want. I mean, they did an entire soundtrack on it.
Yeah. Was that next?
No, it wasn't next.
We'll talk about video game.
Well, this was next, which we'll touch briefly on that and the video game soundtrack after this commercial break, because battery's dying, we've hit the next half an hour, and I need a piss. So, we'll see you after these messages, where hopefully in the last half an hour we'll wrap up the last 2 albums along with these extra little bits and bobs. But we'll see. It might take longer than that. Who knows? This is a very long podcast. We have a lot to say, clearly. This is a band we clearly like a lot. See you guys in a bit.
See ya.
Oh, God.
Hey. What just happened? What?
Hey there! Do you want to be dressed like style icon and rock and roll legend M Shadows, also known as Matt Sanders of Avenged Sevenfold?
No, not really. I just like his music.
Well, too bad! How about a flannel shirt?
No.
Not your style? No problem. I have plenty more where that came from.
No.
Well, how about this one?
Please stop.
This one's blue.
No.
How about an orange one?
No.
This one's also orange.
No.
What about this?
No.
How about this one?
Please, for the love of God, stop.
Really? I see what you mean. None of these flannels are really fitting your style. I'll be back in a bit. I'm just going to go shopping for more clothes for you. Wait right there.
Don't worry. I ain't going anywhere.
Right. Put it on my YouTube channel. Anyway. Right. Hello, and welcome back from that commercial break. We were just talking about Hail to the King. Final thoughts on it, or are we about done there?
It's very good.
Shortly afterwards, they got rid of Aaron because there was a bit of a friction between Aaron and Brian behind the scenes, apparently. So
not much behind the scenes. Anytime you saw Mr. Sinister, the kid
grinding his teeth,
and the kid was mentioned, he would be like,
Fun stuff. Like they're in interviews and like Zacky's saying he was a good kid, he was a good drummer, and then Sin is just in the background like, is he now? But
like there was hate in his eyes.
There was definitely some friction between those two and the band in particular. They got rid of him. So Hail to the King was a good album cycle. There were some good songs on there. We had already talked about it. They needed a drumming replacement for touring, and so they got one Brooks Wackerman from Bad Religion, another inspiration of the Rev, a very, very fitting stand-in as a drummer. He was just meant to be a touring drummer at the time, just like Aaron was originally. Aaron only did writing duties because they wanted to write.
Yeah, and Wackerman actually was a huge fan of Revs as well. From
he was over the years, which is so cool because Brooks Wackerman did also do weird and wacky music that wasn't just punk. He did, like I say, he did Infectious Grooves, which is Mr. Bungle territory. It's not quite as weird, but it is really... It's like a Faith No More sort of thing. It's fun. It's good. It's fun stuff. And Brooks is an absolute just drum machine. He's a living and breathing drum machine, I think. He's excellent, and I love him. But then around this time, going away from the Brooks Wackerman stuff for now, we move on to, in 2013, late 2013, they released the Waking the Fallen Resurrected. The only things to note on here, because it's mostly just the re-release of the album, is there was some cut material that was on here. Not cut songs, sadly, there were no B-sides that ended up on this Resurrected, which is a shame. But we did get some interesting new takes on existing songs. Like, for example, I didn't mention this when we mentioned Waking the Fallen, the original part of this podcast, but the original Waking the Fallen title track, I don't really like it. It doesn't fit on the album, it's not very good. It feels like it's just tacked on and is a waste of space. But the Resurrected version of that, I really enjoy. I really enjoy the Resurrected version, is much more fitting for the album as an intro. I know you may like the Waking the Fallen song original as well. It's not my cup of tea.
And Resurrected steps that up.
Yeah, Resurrected version of Waking the Fallen is great. There's also a few demos and alternate mixes of existing songs on there. There's also a few live performances on the Resurrected too. I enjoy most of the new material on here. They didn't have to do this, but they wanted to celebrate a very popular album of theirs and celebrate that it's turned 10 years old, which is no small feat for a popular album like that.
Because it's one of the two that put albums that put them on the map.
Like I say, Unholy Confession just destroyed the radio when it came to like metal popular stuff. Avenged was, it was synonymous with them, that song, and this album by proxy. But then you get the demo of Chapter 4, Reminiscence, I Wouldn't See You Tonight, and also an alternate mix of Second Heartbeat. It's fun. I enjoy it, and this is the
somehow
version...
even faster.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my head and heart.
But yeah, it's fun, and the Resurrected version was the version of Waking the Fallen you experienced first, which is also another fun fact. And also was the first CD you heard all the way through. You said, didn't you?
First Avenged Sevenfold one.
No.
Yeah, that was the one I got for Christmas in that year it came out.
Yeah, fair enough. It's good. We like Waking the Fallen, so by proxy we are going to like the new version.
Did they all come in like folding cases?
No, that was a digipack. That's only because the extra disc was for the demos and extra material, whereas the first disc was the album itself.
Yeah, I know that part. Was it so they weren't all fancy pull-out ones?
No. That's like I said, that's a digipack. So that's if there's extra discs in there, they're gonna want to pack them more neatly and more prettily.
Okay.
So not all of them did. Life Is But a Dream had a digipack release. I don't think City of Evil did. Interestingly. Neither did Self-Titled.
I specifically meant all the Resurrected versions.
No, then we don't have... That's the only Resurrected version of an album that we have.
Okay.
There's no other Resurrected Avenged album. So, yeah. So they wanted a special release for the new version of Waking the Fallen. About Hail to the King, real quick. You mentioned the App Store game.
Deathbat.
They also did like an animated series on their YouTube channel called Hail to the King as well, where they had some of the music on here. But essentially, they made
8-bit versions.
sound. Yeah, they made 8-bit versions of existing songs.
Oh no, 8-bit of one song, which was a unique song for the Yeah, Androconis.
Androconis themes, yeah.
The rest of the themes are just like...
They're all a
Snippets.
8-bit version of existing, like unholy
those
theme.
ones
That
aren't.
tells you what that's a theme of, but 8-bit.
I was mistaken wrong. They're not 8-bit. They're just soundtrack versions, so without lyrics.
Yeah, so Babylon is like Beast in the Harlot, Nightmare, obviously, Backcountry, Afterlife. Basically, all of their hits turned into like a soundtrack version.
Yeah. As you see, 8-bit's only the last one, which is the first song.
Yeah,
which I think
and it's fun. It's fun to have in the background. It's same thing with Jade Helm for me. Is that it's kind of just there, but we'll get there. We'll get to Black Rain when we do. But it's fun. It has its place, and I do enjoy it. But I don't find myself visiting it very much. Now, 2016. This is a big year for Avenged. This is the first time they're releasing a new album in, again, quite a while.
And the first one, we were there for them to release.
We were well, no, Hail to the King, we were kind of there. We didn't know we were there, but we were kind of there.
No, this one we were there.
We were hyping it up for each other, essentially. I think I remember the day that I saw the single drop, and I think I ran to your house, and I basically brought my iPod Touch. I was like, new song. Did you know about this? And you're like, no. And we're like, let's listen.
Oh.
No. But little factoid about it though is in 2016 they promised a new album, and they promised it for earlier in the year. They promised it for later in the year. They promised an album in December of 2016, and they called it Voltaic Oceans. It was a false leak. It was a false album leak. This is something I didn't know till like recently doing research for this. There was a false leak. They falsely leaked like their new album's title and stuff to the public. It was like a troll, basically. They wanted a troll. This isn't the last time they do a troll thing for the audience. But anyway, we'll get to that. But no, Voltaic Oceans was the leaked album name that was going to be basically a Hail to the King Part 2. It was like a troll thing. It was basically just going to be another AC/DC pastiche album. Was like the sort of troll, sort of like skepticism around it. But then they dropped out of the blue, I think it was March or April time of 2016, they dropped The Stage as the actual 2016 album that they were actually working on. And this album is excellent. We'll just click on the deluxe because all of the songs are there. We'd have to chuck between them, do with them. So yeah, The Stage. It's the lead single is brilliant. Like I say, I remember when it was dropped. Leading up to it, I didn't know they were working on a new album when they dropped that single.
Neither.
I was just like, oh, they're back, but this doesn't sound like Hail to the King. And then, like I say, we would hear the single together as well after the day it came out. And
I think I did the same for Goddamn. You went to me for Stage, and I went back.
You went to me for Goddamn because I wasn't conscious that it had dropped yet.
Yeah.
Both music videos are pretty sick. I prefer the music video for The Stage, just because it's so artistic and cool, about the puppet show and all that stuff. And the song itself is fucking ripper. I absolutely love The Stage. I think it's a killer first track. Definitely is deserving of being the namesake of the album. Should we just talk about the songs briefly before we move on to like the deluxe? I guess I suppose that's what would be next, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So The Stage is brilliant. Goddamn is probably the closest to what could have been on Hail to the King, which is probably why they made it their second single to kind of ease us into this more proggy direction, I guess. But there's a lot of interesting stuff on here. You know, there's a lot of more left field decisions with songs like Sunny Disposition. It feels very, very off, very weird. Roman Sky feels very serene. Fermi Paradox is a killer track. Higher feels very ethereal. Simulation feels almost like, I don't know, like Nine Inch Nails inspiration, I guess, in some ways. And then Angels has like sort of like R&B, sort of like rap, sort of like tempo decisions in there, and it's all over the place, this album, and there's a lot of interesting choices that you wouldn't expect from Avenged, but you know, to expect the unexpected now, but you know what I mean. It was fun, and the fact that Brooks is on here and he had writing credits on drums just kind of shows that he's earned his seat. You know, he definitely knows what he's doing. He definitely fills the big boots of Jimmy, I feel. Even more than Mike Portnoy in some cases, I personally think, because there is a more frantic nature to Brooks that Mike Portnoy didn't have, because Mike didn't have like the punk background.
Yeah, it was also Mike was more going
Brooks
for staying
he was staying true to what was written for the drum stuff, and when there were drum fills he had to fill in, he would do them in a way that felt like what Jimmy would have done or closest to the effect.
Yeah, Brooks was... It had been a few years now, they've come to terms and they've gone, okay, we can now move forward with our lives.
Yeah.
It was acceptance at that
New
phase.
album. New us, new album. Come on, Brooks, let's make something good. And
he delivered. Stage.
Yeah, I think the drumming... My favourite performance of his, drumming-wise, is probably Fermi Paradox. But I do really, really love how frantic the drumming is on Goddamn. I think the drumming is great on there too. The overall feeling on this one of like sort of like cosmic horror is kind of, I guess, the vibe on this album, and I really enjoy that personally. I think it really works. What are your like main thoughts? Any particular tracks that stands out? I know you love Paradigm.
I love Paradigm.
My favourites are... I love Higher. I love Fermi Paradox. I love Exist. I'm a big fan of Sunny Disposition these days, and I was always one that I would overlook, not skip it, but I always be like, oh, okay, I have this on, cool. Kind of zone out hearing it. Yeah. Nowadays, it's a fun one. I think it's quite decent. The only one I'm still not too warm on is Creating God. I don't have like a disdain for it like I used to.
That's one of the ones I've started going more towards recently. Yeah.
No, Creating God is just a very so-so like chorus to it. Like the chorus, like melody and vocals kind of just sound... I just don't enjoy them. I don't know why. There's no real tension released to the music there. So I'm creating God. I'm like, it wasn't the sort of chorus that I'm hoping for. It didn't really do it for me. But all the rest of the tracks are good fun. There isn't a track that I don't like in here really, except for Creating God. And even then, I don't dislike it. There are still moments on that song I like, but overall, it is the weakest link on the album for me.
And now the big boy exists.
We would suck the dick of this song for a while. We would talk about how genius this song is for years to come, wouldn't we? It is 3 songs in one though. Like the first bit is like an instrumental metal thing. Well, like I say, it's 3 songs. It's 3 songs. No. Well, that's what I mean though. The first song of Exist is the instrumental metal part. The middle part is the ballad part that you hear live at the Grammys, where it goes, I hear it painted across the sky. The serene bit that sounds like a Roman sky part 2. And then the third bit is the ethereal Neil deGrasse Tyson narration bit, right? Those are the 3 parts of Exist. They're 3 different sections that fit together surprisingly well, considering how different those sections are. I think it's good. I think Exist is a epic closer. One of their best album closers for me. I think Save Me is still better as a closing track than Exist, but it is a damn good one. I think Exist is a great closer. But yeah, I guess should we talk about the expanded, the deluxe? First thing to note is most of the deluxe are covers. The only one that isn't is Dose. An interesting fun fact about Dose is this was originally going to be a part 2 of a 2-part track, with part 1 being Roman Sky, and then Dose being Dose, being the second part of this song, being the heavier one. Almost like a sort of I Won't See You Tonight sort of approach, where part 1 is a bit more experimental, a bit more somber, and then the second part is way more balls to the wall, which is what, like I say, Roman Sky is to Dose, if you were to compare the two. But I think in the early stages of the writing process, they kind of scrapped the idea of mixing the two and just kind of put Dose to the side and worked on developing Roman Sky with its own identity. So, as for the rest of them, they're all covers. So Retro Vertigo is a Mr. Bungle cover. Malaguana Salarosa, I can't remember what band they covered that from, but it's a fun cover. It's like a Spanish shanty song. It's a fun little ditty actually. I've warmed to that cover a lot. They have the cover of Runaway. They also have As Tears Go By. They have the cover of Wish You Were Here, a Pink Floyd song, and then God Only Knows as well. A lot of ballad, more somber songs on here, except for Runaway, which is a bit faster. But yeah, they're fun. They're good covers, and it does. I mean, it shows on display the sort of influences the band has had over the years. Like I say, from Pink Floyd to Mr. Bungle and beyond. Who did God Only Knows? God Only Knows was the Beatles, wasn't it? Or was it the Beach Boys? I think it was one of the two. I'm not sure which one.
The one who does Should I Stay or Should I Go?
I think it was the Beach Boys. I'm not sure.
But those,
I don't want to.
But those covers, those chosen covers specifically, I feel solidifies what I said about this album was a lot of acceptance and moving on. Because some of the song names, like Wish You Were Here, it's like that feels like
Tears
it was
Go By, God Only Knows.
Messages to the Revved in my eyes was like,
I think so.
There's like they are moving on, but they're not forgetting him.
Yeah,
they never will.
They have to move on, otherwise the band won't ever progress beyond where they lost him, unfortunately. But they've made killer albums after the Rev went. This is just the turning point where they go, right, we've turned a corner here. We are, we're setting those feelings aside now.
Not sure if it was mentioned, but isn't St. James would have been a Halo to the King song?
Yeah, we were going to mention that in the Diamonds in the Rough vinyl release. But yeah, essentially,
it was like they were still holding
we'll
on
talk about that song because it is a killer one. But yeah, overall the stage is really, really good. So this is still 2017 we're in now. So those covers in the expanded version will come back, or at least one or two of them will, as well as most of the stage performance will appear in the Live at the Grammys live album. And I enjoy this, honestly. Oh, they've gotten rid of it.
Yeah, they got rid of it.
Have they?
Yeah.
Aw, why have they done that? No, they haven't. It's here, isn't it? I hope it's here. Yeah, there it is. Never mind, we found it.
Why don't you just put it on all?
I don't know. Anyway, right. So Live at the Grammys. So this one, we'll touch upon it and move on. But there are some songs on here. It's a fun performance to actually listen to all the way through.
I love the acoustic.
I was gonna fucking say that. I love the acoustic. Did I steal your thunder
on that one?
No, you didn't. Shut up. No. I love the acoustic Hail to the King. I also love the return of So Far Away. Roman Sky is fun to see on there. As Tears Go By, a fun choice of a cover to put at the Grammys, but it works. I think it's good. It's a fun overall performance. How long is the show? It's like, it's only half an hour. Easy listen. Stick it on for half hour if you want to read a book and have this on.
Half an hour, but there was a lot of talking between things where they were just chilling and stuff.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's a fun thing to stick on. I won't lie. Yeah, they got a Grammy nod from the stage. So that's another thing to mention about the band.
That was in between, apparently. Apparently that was in between.
It was the same year, so I don't know. We're still in 2017, so I don't really mind. But yeah, then we move on to 2018. We're reaching the Black Rain era of stuff. So they release a song as a single for the next. We were on about Black Ops earlier. So they made Carry On for Black Ops 2. They made Not Ready to Die for Black Ops 1. In Black Ops 3, they had the inclusion of Nightmare, but they didn't write the song for the game.
It was reused for the advertisement for the Nightmare mode.
In Zombies. But yeah, all the same. Yeah, they haven't really touched COD and COD Zombies in a while. So Black Ops 4 comes around with a new Zombies mode.
Oh, we missed part.
What did we miss?
Black Ops 3. Jade Helm came back then.
We'll talk about Jade Helm here, because it's in Black Rain and it didn't show up on their discography as a full... Because remember, Jade Helm is a few different things put together, right?
Yeah.
It's a few different backing tracks they've done that have been squished together.
More specifically, when a multiplayer starts, you always start with a rift, always end with a rift of like it speeding up, like the time's ending, round's nearly ended.
So that's different sections of Jade Helm.
Yeah, that's why there's so many spaces and they're like 3 seconds.
But I thought I'd mention here, because it isn't Jade Helm until all those things are glued together for Black Rain. Yeah. So that's why I'm mainly mentioning it here.
I think Jade Helm's like an acronym, is a special name for certain stuff.
Okay, I'm not sure what it is. You can do research if you want while I introduce it. But yeah, so in Black Ops 4 they write another song for Call of Duty in the Zombies mode. This one's called Mad Hatter. It was made for a Gladiator themed map. And this song, Mad Hatter, it feels like it could have maybe been squished into like the stage. It feels like it's of that era of the band in some ways. It has that sort of Eastern rock twang to it. It's a fun song overall. It's very catchy. It feels like Mr. Bungle meets like Pantera in some ways. Like it feels very dirgy, very slow, but intense and heavy, but also quirky, I guess. It's a good song, and so they released Mad Hatter, and then they announced they're releasing the full package of their Call of Duty songs they wrote in a big EP called, well, not big, it's only 4 tracks, but anyway, they called it Black Rain for the Black Ops games. See what they did there?
Yeah. And Jade Helm was a military exercise.
Okay.
A training exercise, so it actually does have meaning.
Cool. So they released Mad Hatter as a single, and then again on Jade Helm, and then they re-released Carry On and Not Ready to Die, and then as he just mentioned, they also produced backing tracks as like action music to have as a backdrop as you're playing multiplayer in Black Ops 3. As separate tracks though, they are separate like musical sections they wrote, and what Jade Helm essentially does is stick them all together with a 5-second gap of silence between each one. It's alright. I don't love Jade Helm as a full track, but it's not really meant to be a full track, I guess is my thing, which is why I'm at peace with it, I guess.
If you're used to it in the multiplayer, it's like,
much like the, as I was going to say with the Hail to the King soundtrack, like the game soundtrack, it's something fun to have on in the background, just like Jade Helm, but it's not a song that I would stick on and I'd be like, yeah, this is a sing. It's not like that, for me at least. But it's fine, and I'm glad that they took what they made and chucked it somewhere on Spotify where we can listen to it. Do you know what I mean? It's nice that they bothered to do that, because they could have just very well just forgotten about it and we'd be none the wiser. But yeah, mostly, like I say, Black Rain is just the collection of the stuff they made for Treyarch. Any notes about any of them there, or I suppose nothing needs to be said about Carry On and Not Ready to Die, but
Mad Hatter I love.
It is a killer song.
I remember it was like stage.
Carry On is only 4 minutes. Wow, I did not know that was that short. Anyway.
Stage and Goddamn in the previous album. I had to do a couple of listens to. I did have a lot of songs. Mad Hatter I fell in love with it instantly.
It's so good.
First play, I even remember where I was. I was waiting for pre-drinks with some mates. Just finished my first year of uni. And I just got a message from you about Mad Hatter, or vice versa. It was like,
I thought that it was you that messaged me. I remember when I first heard it. I was on the way back home. I was walking along the canal that way, right towards home.
Right, yeah.
And I just got a notification.
I was in the canteen at uni.
Interesting. I don't know who messaged who. I could have sworn it was you that messaged me, but I could have been the other way around. I don't know. Essentially, I was on my phone and I got info maybe off my own volition, or maybe you messaged me a link to it. I don't know.
I may have got it off Spotify and you may have got it.
No, it was a leaked YouTube video of the song first. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, I heard it first then, because I found it on YouTube as a leaked song, and it was such bad quality. But I was like, new Avenged, and it must have been me that messaged you then. I could have sworn it was the other way around.
My first watching of it was the actual music video.
Oh shit! Yeah, no, I heard a leaked YouTube video of it. Anyway, yeah. Like I said, I was on the way home, headphones in, listening to music, and then I saw that it came up, and I guess I'd, like I say, sent it to you or told you about it, and then you waited to hear the music video. I don't know. I don't know how events played out from there, but you know what I mean. It's a killer song. It's really good. That's for Jade Helm. It's good. There's good sections in there. It's catchy, but I don't find myself wanting to go back to it. But so that was 2018. 2019 was the year of silence. So 2020 we move on to where they release a unreleased song called "Set Me Free." That song never been seen before by the fan base. It was a song that they cut from Hail to the King, and it shows. It feels very of the era of Acid Rain, Crimson Day. It feels like it fits in with those sort of tracks from Hail to the King. And it is a shame that it got cut from Hail to the King, because I think it's a great track. I really like Set Me Free. But they released that single, and then following that they announced that they are re-releasing Diamonds in the Rough, because previously the 2010 version of Diamonds in the Rough that we mentioned wasn't available on streaming services. It was only available on CD as the digipack with Live at the LBC with it. The only other way to listen to those songs were on YouTube, or pirating them or whatever, but we don't talk about that naughty stuff. So they released Diamonds in the Rough. They announced they're releasing a new version of Diamonds in the Rough with a vinyl release and officially on streaming services. And unbeknownst to us, this new edition of vinyl version would include extra cut tracks from the last 3 albums that we've been talking about, which is Nightmare, Hail to the King, and not The Stage, because they released their only cut song from the stage, which was Dose.
Okay.
But all these extra songs so the original tracks of Diamonds Rough, we've already talked about them. We don't need to discuss them at length. But the new ones, St. James was from Hail to the King, Set Me Free, already mentioned. 4 AM was one I told you to keep note of. That was from Nightmare, and that was seen before on the Welcome to the Family EP, yeah, or single, whatever, right? And then Lost It All was also from Nightmare, and then they also had a cover of Black Sabbath's Paranoid on a rock greatest hits, rock legends thing, and so they decided to chuck that cover on this new version of Diamonds in the Rough as well for good measure. Extra songs, not going to complain.
St. James I love.
Yeah, I think as we've got the whole of Diamonds in the Rough on display now, let's go through. So, Demons I love to bits. I love Crossroads. I love Until the End. I love Tension. Dancing Dead
Girl I Know.
Fucking brilliant. I'm not a big fan of that one. The lyrics are very surface level and bit shallow of lyrics for me. But fair enough. Love St. James. Love Set Me Free. 4 AM is great. Lost to Doors a fun thrashy hit. Definitely feels like it could have sat right alongside God Hates Us in the Nightmare album.
Yeah.
And the cover of Paranoid is, it's serviceable for the track listing.
Yeah.
I also quite like The Fight, actually. The Fight is a good song. Flash of the Blade cover, I mentioned.
Yeah.
Sorry, go.
So Tension.
Yeah.
Go to that one quickly. So, that intro to me always... I think even before that, I can't remember.
Oh, no, that's where it starts though, isn't it? Anyway.
Well, it's like that always reminds me of like old-fashioned police films or TV shows.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you are thinking of the right song then. Yeah, me too.
Sorry,
no, you're absolutely right.
Maybe I heard you wrong.
No, you're absolutely right.
I can just imagine like a police.
It's the bass lick, isn't it? It's the bass lick. Yeah, it's
maybe you can do an edit like that.
No, fuck you. It's a podcast. I don't have to edit.
No, not for this. For something else. But it's like, just I always visualise like a police car in black and white driving with this in the background.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool stuff. It's a fun album. Lots of great tracks on it. The Walk makes a return as well. The Pantera cover. But yeah, it's mostly songs we've already. It's mostly songs we've already mentioned on the previous Diamonds in the Rough. But there are lots of great tracks on there, and it's kind of sad they never made it on their own albums. They ended up on this comp, but that's fine. It does the job. It's great that we have it finally. But yeah, that was Diamonds in the Rough. Let's go on our next commercial break, and then we'll come back to wrap up this podcast with the final album. This is one of the longest podcasts we've ever done, but I'm loving it. Right, see you after these messages. Fashion. Ah, perfect! You're still here. Excellent stuff.
No. Where exactly am I supposed to go?
Now, after my time away, I have done some deliberation on your fashion style, and I think we should do away with the M Shadows look and go for more of a David Draymond direction. But unfortunately what that means is we might have to lose the flannel look that we've been digging our heels into, unfortunately.
You fucking kidding me?
Ah, that's perfect! You got it, the look is there! You've done it! Good fellow!
Oh, wow.
And welcome back from that commercial break. We are now in the final stretch of this podcast where we talk about, in 2021, there was a long gap of nothing after the Diamonds in the Rough re-release from 2020. They release a, what was it? It was an NFT, right?
NFT, yeah.
But they first of all released a sort of, it was a leaked?
Yes.
It was a leaked sort of like midsection of a song.
This is the first leak I know of, not
This is like the Into the Ether thing. Not many people know about this, but if you were there, then you probably remember it if you were part of the fan base back then. But it was like a demo leak, but it was like a fake leak to kind of like promote an NFT, essentially.
Which
but it
annoys me.
it sounded like it should have been on the stage. Maybe it was like a cut, like solo from the stage or something. Maybe I'm imagining it. It does sound like it probably could have been, but we'll never know. They haven't really touched very much on where that came from. But it was like a marketing campaign for NFT. So,
which partially annoyed me because I really liked that, and I just thought that was where they were going with the next album.
Yeah,
it was more like I thought that was the sound they were going for in the next album, and I was for it.
I was too.
Yes, I know it does sound like stage. I agree with you. It was like, a second.
But
stage
it could have been a more matured version of the stage. Yeah, you're right. It does sound a bit more refined.
They tend to come in pairs when they make songs.
Albums, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. In some ways, yes. I guess in some way, yeah, because the first two are more metalcore-y, the next two are more experimental metal-ish, the next two are, I guess, is the disconnect from that pattern. But then the stage and Life Is But a Dream are way closer to prog. So I guess in some ways it does still count, but who knows? Yeah. But speaking of,
to be fair, they were supposed to end that Nightmare. So Hail to the King was.
Hail to the King was like a soft reboot, I guess, wasn't it? But who knows? I mean, they do sound similar in concept, but it's just one of them is way more rock-centric and the other is way more hostile and heavy, I guess, than Hail to the King. Anyway, right. So that was 2021. They released that Into the Ether NFT. And then there's silence for a long fucking time. For like 2 years. There is like silence in the Avenged camp until they release a single Out of the Fucking Sky. Out of the ether, if you will. That was cringe. I might cut that out.
Nope,
they released a song called Nobody. And it kind of broke the fan base because it was quite divisive. Some people were a fan, but some people were not. When I first heard it, this has happened a couple of times with Avenged, but not as this violent of a reaction where I'm like, I need to hear this again, because what the fuck was that? Because that sounded like a drum machine. When I heard it again, I'm like, no, that's just Brooks. Then that's when I realised. But when I first heard it, I'm like, there's no way they're doing a trap beat like tempo here, are they? And then I hear like the cymbal clang. Like it sounds like a trap beat. It sounds like a drum machine. And I'm like, they haven't done this, have they? And then when I heard it again, I was like, no, this still fits with their concept. They've just done something left ball again. That's just them. That's when I eased into Nobody.
I love Nobody.
I love it too. It's great, but it took multiple listens for it to grow on me.
It does, but most do for me. Mad Hatter was an exception for me. But that one,
Nobody is such a great song.
I got an update on Nobody now.
Yeah?
No, it's not an update like proper one.
Okay.
More as a personal one.
Okay, yeah.
So I started my new car again.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just today, driving lessons with my dad. He was driving us home.
Yeah.
No, he's not putting me on the road yet, but it's like, so I plugged in and I put this song on, and
it sounds like your car's breaking down or something, right?
No, he was just subtly tapping. He hates it.
Hey, he likes Nobody. Fun. I like that.
Yeah, we know he likes Nobody.
Anyway.
But yeah, it's like my dad has a thing where he doesn't like singing. He doesn't like people singing. His only exception is a certain singer of Iron Maiden.
Bruce Dickinson, yeah.
Dickinson, yes. But yeah, I just saw him out of the blue just tapping the wheel.
Yeah, fun.
And I went, I was like, what? I like that.
Yeah. Nobody was a real shock to the system for me, because I'd gotten very comfortable with what Avenged have done and kind of forgot the fact that they can do all sorts of weird new shit. And yeah, like I say, the first couple of listens to Nobody, I wasn't sure if I liked it. But like I say, with every listen, I'm like, I get it. Shit, it's really good. And
I was mesmerised by the music video. I was like,
the music video is just as good, if not better. Yeah, it's just as good, if not better, than the stage music video. It is so damn good. Like, it shocked me for so many reasons. Like I say, with the what sounded like a drum machine, with them putting the solo at the end of the song, and the music video being so fucking cool. It was just such a shock to the system. Like, holy shit, they are so bad. It's such a mission statement. And then they released their second single, We Love You, which you, or at least didn't like. What are your thoughts on it now?
I've not visited this album.
Have you not? You're having a laugh.
It hurt. This song is too messy for me. Not even like, oh yeah, it's a fun mess. It's like, No, it sounds like you've lost the plot, mate.
I'll get to We Love You in a bit, I guess. I really like it. It's one of my favourite on the album. It's one of my favourites.
This is the one with the most diverse split on.
Damn. It's like Creating God, but like polar opposites.
This one is like, it sounded like they had no plan. They didn't know where they were going.
Okay. It's obviously agree to disagree, but I love that that's because that was their mission. Yeah. Their mission was to shock people with a album that's so unexpected, and to an extent, it even worked on you. They made a song that was like, no, I don't know if I like that. It's just so cool that it works. This album works what they wanted to do.
It's like,
but yeah.
We Love Me More annoys me a lot more because there's so many elements of it that's good, or where it's like, stick with that idea. You've swapped tempo again. Stick with an idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
you make me seem like I don't have ADHD.
I'll talk about why I like it when we get to the whole album. But so Life Is But a Dream comes out. Those were the two singles. They didn't want to release too much ahead of the album. They wanted most of the album to be available at the same time, because this is a full album listening experience. You want to listen to it from track 1, Game Over, to the title track 11 in one go. You don't want to pause, you don't want to cherry pick songs. I mean, you can cherry pick some songs because there are some brilliant ones in there, like Game Over, Mattel, Nobody, Cosmic, Beautiful Morning. But on a whole, it needs the full picture. You need to listen to it as a full scope. And I know what you're going to say, but I'll hold it for a second. But essentially, this album was my soundtrack of my summer last year, and I fucking love it. I love Life Is But a Dream. I can see this becoming my favourite Avenged album in a few years. I don't know though, but it could be my absolute favourite, just from the memories I've made with this album. Anyway,
how was my listening experience of the summer?
Essentially,
paralysed, drunk on your floor with a kebab in my face.
No, the kebab wasn't in your face. Your face was in the kebab. Fucking hell! Oh, I love it.
And I think I fell asleep in the God trilogy.
He visited me at uni. We did a night out, and I'm like, "Hey, you haven't heard Life Is But a Dream yet?" I know, but this was like night 3 or something, and I'm like, "Hey, we need to hear Life Is But a Dream tonight." And you're like, "Okay."
I think I drank more that weekend than I have all year.
But anyway, yeah. So after the night out, we come back to my room, and I stick it on my best speakers. Great sound system. You're just sat on the floor, facing the kebab.
I went from standing up to sitting down
on the floor, to
lying down, to resting on my kebab
as a pillow. So his first listening experience of Life Has Been a Dream
is the trippiest thing ever.
Is Game Over, Mattel, Nobody, We Love You, Cosmic, Beautiful Morning, Easier. Yeah, it's
fun fact. This album, after a bunch of alcohol, is a bigger trip.
Yeah, it would
it's
be.
more of a stumble down 13 flights of stairs. With a net.
It's brilliant. It is so brilliant. I love that story. But yeah, anyway, so this album is pretty great. So I fucking love this album, man. I really do. There's not really a track I don't like on here. I love how it's proggy, but not traditional metal proggy. It's just got so much music on there from different genres all over the place. They have like Game Over is like they start out with like a lute or a mandolin or whatever. Mattel, like there's like a guitar solo, but it's with a sitar. Obviously Nobody we've already mentioned. We Love You we'll get to. Cosmic is more of like an ethereal rock ballad that's just serene and beautiful. Beautiful Morning is like an Alice in Chains pastiche. Easier I can't really pin down, but it feels like a Daft Punk meets Pantera in some ways. G feels straight out of Dream Theater's discography. Ordinary feels like Daft Punk, and then Death feels like a fucking Frank Sinatra song.
I think it's so Ordinary is the one which I've shuffled my music a few times, and Ordinary's like, oh, what's this song? And I think it's that song. So that one I do have an interest in. The other ones I've not heard as much.
Ordinary is so catchy, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Avenged Sevenfold as to what you'd expect, right? And it's so
Is that the one that goes in the middle or something?
Yeah, can you hear me? morning.
Yep,
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah, it's that one.
Beautiful Morning is like, that was an interesting one.
It's a really heavy rocker. It's the heaviest one on the album, I think.
It's one of my alarms.
Is it nice? Beautiful morning. It goes from super heavy, and then that little middle section, it sounds like you've just shuffled to ELO or something. It's so strange. It's so cool though.
Which is the most ironic time when I was falling asleep in that song.
Yeah, well,
not because it's boring, because I was drunk.
because you had a face full of kebab. But
And
an interesting
a belly
choice.
full of kebab as well.
Yeah. Half the kebab was in your belly and the other half was on your face. But it's a fun choice. Why are we drifting from that to about them? Anyway, but no, it's a fun choice that they ended the album on a piano solo. On a full-on piano sonnet. A 4.5 minute just opus of just sick piano work. Like, I don't know, I think on the first listen, because I listened to it like at midnight when it dropped, and I listened to it all the way through, all the lights out, headphones on, and I listened to it all, and I got to the end and I'm like, the fuck happened to me sonically? Like, it was just went all over the place. There was moments that I really enjoyed, like in Ordinary. I loved that fucking shit so much on first listen. It was gorgeous. And then there were bits that really shocked me, like Ordinary really shocked me. The final song just being a full piano sonnet shocked me. We Love You shocked me when it came out as a single, surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, so did Nobody. But then the more straightforward Avenged songs like Game Over, Mattel, they're still really, really fit. And I think in the concept of the album, I think going through the tracks down to the bottom, the further down the tracks are, the less like Avenged Sevenfold the songs sound. If that makes sense at all. Like,
well, in my eyes, that's a big fucking...
Wait, yeah. Stop with the anti We Love You slander, okay? There's none of that here. Come on.
Would that just be We Hate You?
We hate you. Yeah.
You hate me.
That'll be your remix of it, yeah, where they stop tempo changing. But when you get further down the track listing, Easier doesn't sound like Avenged. Oh, no, you're right. There are weird tempo choices.
It wasn't tempo.
In that song.
That speed. It was.
I know what you mean, though. I'll get to that in a second. Okay. But yeah. So when you get to the God trilogy, and even before that with Easier, it doesn't sound. There's Avenged Sevenfold in there, but Matt Shadows is using vocoder for his vocals rather than his actual like gruff voice. And then when you get to the God trilogy, Matt does not sound like M Shadows. Ordinary, he's got the vocoder again, and then in Death, he's just crooning over the Frank Sinatra type music. It's just a full.
And in Life Is But a Dream, he turned into a piano
orchestra. Yeah. But no, it's. I think it's so creative. The amount of different ideas on here and how they all somehow fit so seamlessly together. So We Love You is.
Do you?
No. We Hate You. No, but what I like to think is that We Love You is kind of the centre of the album, in that if what the entire album would sound like in one song, that'll be We Love You. Think about it. Like, there are so many
it does
ideas.
sound like about 10 songs have been thrown into one. Yeah, I agree with you.
But the thing is that it starts out frantic and all over the place like thrash metal, then it turns into like a Eurovision rave. Then it goes into an ethereal,
I love the aggressive
somber moment. Yeah. And then it goes back to the hard thrashy stuff. And then it goes all over again. Basically, it chucks all the rule book out the window, essentially. And that's what I enjoy about it. It's very
And the rest
fitting.
of the other 9 songs.
Shut up, man. Come on. Listen, okay?
That was 10
Chill.
different ideas they had, and they went,
All of them!
They did the complete
Which ones do you want? Yes!
They did the opposite of I See You Tonight, part 1 and 2. They went, oh, we've got 20 song ideas, you can only have 12. Damn it.
Oh yeah? Crunch!
You've got into the UFA. We'll put that as an NFT.
Yeah, NFT, screw it, who cares? No one cares about that song.
I do!
But yeah, I love We Love You. I think it's a really good track. I think it encapsulates the spirit of the album, in that it is essentially got so much to say, in my opinion.
I have a lot to say.
Shut up, man, come on. Chill. And also on We Love You, there's a remix by Pussy Riot called We Love You More, which I think is quite cool. It basically emphasises more of the Eurovision dance stuff and less of the thrashy stuff, so you might not like it.
Well, I say it's the flashy second I like.
Yeah. The music video for We Love You was really cool.
How much do I need to drink for that one, and how many kebabs?
Yes. So
is there one for each tempo?
yeah, you got to have a different flavour every time they change genre in that song.
Is that on the drink or
take a shot every time they change genre? Imagine we did a fucking drinking game on this album every time they switch genres or tempo.
Got a new video. It's an 18+ one.
Yeah, take a shot every time. It's like, shit, Rin, we love you. Let's get the shots ready. Anyway, yeah. That's the end of this podcast. we're done, pretty much. I think. I think
now for the future.
No, we haven't got time. We're running out of time already. But we haven't got time. Well, they said they're not making another album ever again, by the way. But they've said that before.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they said this might be the last one. They might release singles, but they don't think they'll release another album unless they have something to say that will top Life Has But a Dream.
What are they saying with this?
I'll leave that to the imagination. Yeah, I really, really love Life Is But a Dream. Like I say, in a few years I could see this becoming my favourite album of theirs. Should we go through our thoughts on the whole discog? Or I guess what are like your album, like your favourites, if you were to quickly rank them, I guess. Try and be quick about it if you can, because we are running out of time. No pressure.
I don't know about the order right now, but I'm going to label the top 5/6.
Yeah. Well, there's only 8 there.
Oh, fuck.
Well, 9 if there's diamonds in the rough, but anyway.
That is on that extra list, but that's a compilation, so I'll remove that for now.
Mm-hmm. You said 7th Trumpet is bottom, so that helps.
Yep.
Damn, I don't know what I'd rank mine. I think Nightmare is number 1 for me.
Nightmare's near the top for me.
Is that your favourite as well, do you think?
Might be, yeah.
Yeah. My second favourite... Oh,
self-album.
Fuck. You think it's your self-titled? Wow, okay.
It's that thing of you forget the name, but when you actually hear the songs, you know, all
you
those
go,
songs.
oh yeah, Nightmare. Oh yeah, Gunslinger. Oh yeah, Scream. You forget all of the songs that are on there, and then when you do, you're so pleased.
Then Hail to the King. I think it's like Hail to the King. I just played it too much when I was younger, so it's like
yeah, me too. It used to be. You remember Hail to the King used to be my favourite too.
Yeah.
But I've played it too many damn times now. I think my favourite is Nightmare. My second favourite. I don't know. I think my second favourite is Life Is But a Dream. Fuck. It might be. Yeah, Nightmare. Life Is But a Dream. Then, after that, I might have to go for Waking the Fallen as my third. Either that or The Stage. Fuck. I don't have a list either, man. Shit, this is hard. Okay, there's our list, our top 3, kind of. We like them all. Nearly all. No, we do like them all, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun. This has been... Come on. I nearly spent the whole podcast without a single burp and then one just crawls up my throat now. Thanks. But yeah. That's us done. We're done talking about Avenged Sevenfold. Thanks for sitting through all of this. Thanks for tolerating us talking our ear off about a band that we really like. Yeah. That's it. Awkward start and awkward finish to this podcast, eh? Yeah. Fitting. Cool stuff. Thanks for watching.
Want to get a kebab?
It's a bit early for that, isn't it? Kane not happy. Kane wants kebab. Kane wants a plant-facing kebab. And question my existence.
While listening to stuff that makes me question my existence, yeah.